welcome to the Yerky Boys. May the Kandrona shine and strengthen you. My name is Will.
My name is Jonathan.
And we are
the Yerky Boys. Oh yeah, baby.
Yeah, we're talented. We did it.
I'm high off of that shit right now.
That's good. That's real
good. You know why that was so good, listeners?
I wonder if they figured it out.
It's because we're in the same place at the same time.
What?
Yeah. This is our first and probably only, maybe one of four for the run of the show, episodes where we will be together and not recording remotely.
Yeah, you've probably noticed my mic quality is a bit better here too.
Yeah, that could be true. Well, don't say that because people are going to be disappointed in the rest. If you didn't say it, they wouldn't notice.
They would notice.
But there probably is better audio quality in general because sometimes there's overlap with the... We don't need to get into why it's worse other times.
Yeah, don't listen to the other episodes of this podcast.
But this one's really good. So this is exciting.
You think maybe we should go back and desync our intro and post it?
Yeah. Yeah, I'll try to do that.
Okay.
Thank you. Do that. The Yerky Boys.
That's us.
That's us.
So this... God,
your eyes are beautiful.
Thank you.
Go on. Please. Sorry. I'm just not used to being able to look at you.
Yeah, it's quite nice. Oh, wow. Wow. Look at that profile. But today...
My coffee. Sorry. Go ahead.
Thank you.
They didn't know. Go ahead.
This week, we're going to be talking about Book 5, The Predator, in which Marco turns into a gorilla. This is our first Marco book.
Who are we missing still?
We are only missing Axe at this point.
Oh, so all the main kids, we've done their books.
All of them.
There's 5 of them. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yep.
Okay. I catch on quick.
Yeah. I guess
cool.
4. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, we did good. We're
doing good. Yeah, this is our last human that we need a POV for.
Yeah, we're adding him to the collection.
Indeed.
That's really exciting.
Do you have anything from last book?
I don't have any notes because the other dolphin thing I wanted to say, I went back and added it after the episode about Echo the Dolphin. That's a little behind the scenes. People didn't know that was a splice in.
Yeah.
But it was seamless, so they couldn't tell.
Beautiful.
But
tech genius.
Yeah, I don't have anything I need to say about the message. I did have a question that's sort of just not specifically related to this book.
Yeah. Shoot.
Do you think that anyone's ever said, and maybe they say this in the book at some point, maybe they say this to Axe, you really put the delight in Andalite?
I don't think anyone said that in the books.
I just think that's really funny.
It's pretty funny. You can make sure you write that when you start your Animorphs fan fiction.
That could be what we should say. That could be one of our tweets.
Oh.
We've officially launched a Twitter account.
We have.
It's at the Yerky Boys.
I haven't looked at it since the first day we launched it.
There's not much to see.
Yeah.
But it's there now. We threatened to do it last episode. Now it's there, so people can follow us.
That's right.
All right. Well,
we'll remember to tweet that. You could tweet it out right now.
Okay, stop the podcast. Tweet it out right now.
All right.
So what I liked about the beginning of this book was when U.S. Army Ranger sniper Quinn McKenna and his team are attacked while on a hostage retrieval mission.
Mm-hmm.
And he has parts of this creature's armor sent off by mail to prove the existence of extraterrestrial life.
Yeah, I thought that was a clever tie-in with the whole Yerk Andalite war thing going on.
Yeah, I was a little confused. And then government agent Will Traeger has McKenna captured and held for examination.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's a fascinating departure from the standard Animorphs.
Oh, you know what? You know what? I made a mistake.
Oh, what was the mistake?
I messed up.
Uh-oh.
I accidentally... Instead of reading Animorphs Book 5, The Predator, I accidentally watched the 2018 Shane Black film, The Predator.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Well, fortunately, it's not that different.
Is that pretty much what happened?
We're still, you're going to be fine.
Okay. Yeah, there was a lot of, Marco narrated it and everything.
Right.
All right. Okay, that's it. That's all I had for this episode. Good. You're good. You can go now.
The end. Yeah, next time on. So, what are your thoughts on your first Marco book here? I know you're a big Marco head.
I'm a big Marco head. I love Marco. I thought a Marco book would be pretty funny. It was a little bit sadder than I expected it to be. It turns out that I get also it's still true to real life. I like being around Marco more than I like being Marco.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah, it's a little depressing to actually be Marco.
Yeah. Marco uses his comedy as a coping mechanism.
This is why
quite a bit.
I want to be Tobias.
Mm,
because he gets to enjoy Marco's jokes and be cool still.
right.
But he's still pretty sad.
What about you wouldn't want to be Jake? Because
So vanilla, you know?
mm,
Not that I don't like
mm.
vanilla, but it's delicious.
Jake likes chocolate.
Is that true?
I'm trying to make a joke about Cassie.
Okay. You should start talking about the book.
Probably should.
Yeah, no, there's a lot, I think there's a lot to talk about in this book. There's a lot of good stuff.
Okay, good. I'm glad we have a podcast on our hands.
We've got a podcast on our hands, people.
Yeah, now I'm looking at this cover here, and we've got some real good faces on this one.
It is. Marco's got a very smug grin on his face.
I think this is a little bit of a departure from the regular format because my favorite one here is the middle third stage rather than the second stage.
Oh,
for me
interesting.
personally.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got kind of like the gremlin on the wing Twilight Zone costume thing going on.
Yeah, it's not yeah, this is a little I guess because it's a gorilla and not like a fucking dolphin or some other weird
lobster.
Yeah. Like it's a much more natural transition. It's not as freaky as some of the other book covers.
Yeah.
So I mean, he's just got a gorilla-like stance
a bit
already.
whimsical, even.
Yeah. Also, the interesting, fun trivia fact Seropedia pointed out: this is the all the other books. Marco is depicted with short hair.
Yes, I think he cuts it canonically in the books, and it might be related to that.
Interesting.
Like you were talking earlier about Tobias being described as blonde, and then they switched to dirty blonde because of the actor. I wonder if that's why Marco cuts his hair in the books.
I was assuming it was because they were like, we can't have two kids with long hair. It's confusing. Like,
yeah.
I mean, one of them has feathers, so that helps clear it up a little, but
I don't think Tobias's hair was that long. It was just like messy. I actually thought you were going for Rachel as the other long-haired character.
Yeah, I guess the girls also do have longer hair.
I think Cassie's got short hair.
I feel like Tobias's was it was like down to his ears, so it was like a little longer.
Yeah,
maybe.
I guess. I mean, it was long-ish.
Yeah, whatever. It gets real long when he's a gorilla, though. Marco's hair.
Yeah,
covers his whole body.
Okay,
calm down.
So, I'm calming.
So what's
now? How do you feel about this inner cover here?
Oh, right, the inner cover. Oh yeah, look at that beautiful book. Yeah, I don't. Who's Orson?
Who is Orson? I don't know who Orson is.
The question on everybody's lips: who is Orson? There's the graffiti, we should say for listeners, on the inside cover. Looks like it says Orson, right?
It does.
Okay.
Marco is in an alleyway in this one, which we'll see in the first scene, but he is looking pretty nice as a gorilla here in kind of a bad looking neighborhood alleyway. Well, no parking signs, some overflowing trash cans, graffiti on a brick wall, weathered brick. It does look like it says Orson.
Well, maybe it's in tribute to Orson Welles.
What do you think? I don't remember the artist's name for who did these. Maybe he's an Orson Welles fan. We can look into that.
Marco.
Polo?
No. I was trying to do an Orson Welles impression, which the only way I know how to do an Orson Welles impression is to do an impression of the brain, because that's Maurice LaMarche doing an impression of Orson Welles.
So that's why it doesn't come through. It's too many steps.
Yeah.
Transitive property.
It also doesn't help that I didn't have anything to say besides Marco. I couldn't think of another thing Orson Welles would say.
Well, he would say Marco, so at least that part we got right.
Yeah, if you ever noticed, Justin Roiland really tapped into a lot of good things in his life, and one of them was I
don't want to be
giving
too much credit to what Justin Roiland tapped.
A lot of things he did in his life were solid. And one of them is in improv. When you're improvising, it's real easy to just say the other character's name a lot. That helps. Like, that's a great buffer until you can come up with what the next line is.
Right.
Little improv tip for everybody.
I don't know. I feel like that works better on silly characters. Orson Welles is a little bit too serious of a character in some sense.
You're right. Always all those frozen food commercials were just too serious.
That's right. Now, just to go over the quotes before we jump into the meat here.
We don't want to get started too early.
Right. On the front, it says, "What you see isn't always what you get." And on the inside, it says, "Monkey see, monkey do."
So yet another... things are different. Mm-hmm. Like, these are interchangeable, these front cover quotes.
I don't know about this monkey see, monkey do. It just sounds like they were grasping at straws for a phrase that involved apes or monkeys.
Yeah,
or
gorillas are apes.
Yeah.
Not monkeys.
That's right.
So
could have said like going ape shit.
Yeah, they could have said going ape shit.
I don't know why they didn't.
They could have said dicks out for Harambe. Dicks out for Marco.
Dicks out for Marco.
Wow. This is, by the way, we should also just say, if you're listening to this, congratulations, because it means you came back after the dolphin sex episode.
Yeah.
And my voice cracking just now.
I don't have anything really to say about gorilla sex, sadly. So if that's why you're still here.
That's too close to human sex, which is not our area of expertise.
Shockingly, it seems like there's far fewer monkey and gorilla sex scandals running around than dolphin sex scandals.
There's not enough of a challenge there.
Yeah, that could be.
It's not uncharted territory.
It's like uncanny valley. So like you're not into gorillas unless you're already into people. And in that case, you're going to be put off. The dolphins, like you have to be a total weirdo for that.
Right.
Yeah. Plus they're like sleek and streamlined.
Yeah, they're really hot.
Yeah, that's right.
I get it.
It makes sense.
It's like, I mean, it's like fucking a Lisa Frank binder. You know what I'm talking about?
I do.
All right. Anyway.
Yeah, I guess we could start the actual book.
It's up to you.
Yeah, why not?
I have no objections.
Well, in the first scene of this book, Marco is out shopping late at night. He has to go shopping because his dad is a bad parent. He's out in a bad neighborhood. He's out at the 7-Eleven buying groceries. It's after 10 at night. He's walking through a bad neighborhood, and he walks past these 3 guys mugging an old man in an alleyway. And he decides that he's going to rescue this old guy. So he turns into a gorilla and attacks him, tries to scare him off. One of the guys pulls a gun on him. And Marco manages to disarm him, drive off the guys, save the old man. The old man, though, is terrified that there's this gorilla rampaging in the alleyway. He picks up the gun and shoots at Marco, and Marco just barely makes it out. So this is Marco's little adventure to start off our story.
I have more to say about this scene than almost any other scene.
Yeah, the books are super front loaded. Like they're at their most interesting when they're just doing regular shenanigans,
and
but as animals.
They're weirdest too. Like there's live commercials that happen, just like crazy things occur.
Right.
To start these books off. I didn't know in Marco's introduction. He says his they can't say their last name,
right?
And he says maybe he's Marco McCain.
Yeah, I noticed that too.
So I feel like McCain has been tainted by John McCain now. I don't think he would.
I don't know how long John McCain has been in politics. He's super old.
I mean, he was around.
He must have been.
But I don't think he wasn't as prominent. But he also says, "I'm not even going to swear to you that Marco is my first name," which feels like too little too late. They realized like, shit, fuck, we better just say it might not be Marco. It might not.
Yeah, it could be something else. It is Marco.
it's Marco. We can confirm. Now, okay. First of all, who has a sadder home life, Tobias or Marco?
I do think it's Tobias. But
I guess pre-bird. Let's say pre-bird.
Well, I mean, even still pre-bird, he's getting shuffled around between and his parents, like, it's unclear what's going on with them. His dad like died or something. His mom like abandoned him. Who knows what's going on with them? And then now he's getting shuffled back and forth. He can't even stay in one place. And there is the thing that's like, okay, so if Tobias goes missing, which he did, they're not even sure that his aunt and uncle are even putting out a missing persons report. Like, oh well, he's gone. Whereas at least Marco's sitting around saying, well, if I were to die, then now my dad didn't just lose my mom, he lost me too, and that like any hope of him coming back, he's gone.
You're right. You're
So
right.
there's some love there.
Tobias's home is broken. Marco's is just breaking.
Yeah, it's still pretty broken. Marco, throughout this book, Marco and other books, Marco's very parentified, right? He's like, even at the beginning of this book, he is out doing the grocery shopping at a convenience store because his dad doesn't leave the couch.
Right. Yeah. And also at 10 p.m.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who told him to do that?
I mean, he probably just realized it. Because he
There's
doesn't
just
know
no food.
Oh, fuck. Yeah.
Gotta
right?
go get a 7-Eleven hot dog or something.
Yeah. He's too busy playing Doom all day, and then he realized that he didn't have dinner. And
But Marco is a hero with the heart of gold, as established in this scene. He saves an old man.
He does. That's true.
He didn't have to do anything.
Yeah.
He's a hero with a heart of gold.
Yeah. He spends all the series constantly. He's saying, we don't need to do this. We're going to get ourselves killed. But when he actually sees the old guy in trouble, okay, I'll do this one thing because he's going to. Yeah.
It's beautiful. I have multiple questions.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like I don't want to like dominate. I don't want to just
keep
do
going,
all the question asking. But I don't know if this was just my copy of the book, but the word dumpster is capitalized.
Yeah, I have that written here too. I was wondering if you knew.
Nope.
Is dumpster a brand?
Is this like elevator, or it's actually named after a guy or something? Write
in an email and tell us what you know about the history of dumpsters.
Could have Googled it, didn't.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that.
But I've never seen it capitalized anywhere else in my life.
I would much rather just spew bullshit than actually give you accurate information.
Maybe that's like, eventually Kleenex won't be capitalized. Like, is it just the dumpster used to be a brand name? Yeah. It probably did.
Maybe it's an acronym like radar.
Yeah. So it stands for...
I don't have anything.
Dirty, ugly, messy pile, signifying trash, engaging, restitution.
Didn't quite land it, but I was on board with you for most of that.
Yeah.
It could end on receptacle, maybe. Because that's what it is.
Yeah, I went with the noun in the middle. I tried to make it like a sentence. Yeah. It's very long.
Yeah.
More questions, specifically related to the dumpster.
Keep going.
I want to keep on dumpster talk.
Keep on the dumpster talk.
Now, he throws a dumpster at the mugger.
Yes.
Two muggers.
Yes.
I know that gorillas are strong.
Yep.
Are they pick up and throw a dumpster strong?
How much does a dumpster weigh?
Maybe that's the thing. I'm picturing like out in the parking lot of my apartment building is like there's a big dumpster.
Yeah.
But I guess this is like in an alleyway. It's probably smaller. It's maybe the size of a few trash cans or something.
Yeah. No, I don't.
It must be a smaller dumpster.
I have no frame of reference for how much a dumpster weighs or for how much a gorilla can pick up exactly. Like, can a gorilla pick up something that weighs as much as a gorilla? Could they pick up another gorilla and throw them, action movie style? Could they pick up like two gorillas and throw them at once?
I don't feel like they could pick up two gorillas.
Okay. Because I think, what are gorillas? Like 400 or 500 pounds for like big silverbacks at most?
Probably. Yeah. They certainly are more than that.
I'm certain I'm getting my information on this from these Animorphs books in the past, not Wikipedia.
All my ape info comes from Planet of the Apes movies. And they never throw dumpsters.
Yeah, those apes are smaller, though. They've evolved to be more refined.
That's true. But at the beginning of this book, it's funny because I was like, gorillas aren't ants. And then ants came up.
Ants will come up.
So it's kind of weird that they... I don't know if there's a connection there or not.
Yeah. Now, I did also... These guys are... I don't know. They pull knives on him and attack him. They pull a gun on him and attack him. There's a point here where I'm just thinking, if a gorilla shows up and starts throwing a dumpster at you, at what point do you just run? Like, you just get the fuck out of there. Yeah. Like, I don't... Like, why are you still attacking? What, you think you're going to fight off this gorilla? You're not going to fight off this gorilla.
I have a note here that says, are these muggers high? I would just run.
My note here speculates that maybe they thought at first he was a guy in a gorilla suit. And that's how they...
I guess.
Until he starts throwing dumpsters.
I have never seen a gorilla suit look as good as a gorilla.
Right, but in the movies, everyone pretends that it does.
Yeah, right. I guess that's true. Trading places, they're all fooled.
There was that prank in Jackass where, what's his name, put on the gorilla suit. That might have been Ryan Dunby. Put on a gorilla suit and pranked Bam's parents into thinking he was a real gorilla. And that sort of worked, maybe. It's hard to know how much of that is But the point being, at the heat of the moment, you're panicking. You're not going to be like, "Oh, that doesn't look that realistic." You just
it's dark out, too.
Right? But then you'd think they would think he was a real girl. I guess I'm talking myself out of it.
I did wonder also if they had a gun, why take the knife out to begin? Why not just gun first? Not sure about that either.
It takes longer to draw a gun.
They wanted to have they need a trump card. You don't want to start with your biggest thing.
Only one of them had a gun. Maybe that was the guy that Marco threw the dumpster at. I could reread it right now.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna.
Don't. Now, I liked the scene too. I like the way it ends because the old man shoots at him as he's running away.
Yeah.
Which is very, and he mentions this a little earlier in a different context, feels very Spider-Man to me.
Yeah, speaking of Spider-Man.
Yeah, with a hyphen, and when I say
this is right. This is the first of 3 mentions of Spider-Man throughout this book, and none of them are hyphenated.
That's right. Which, as we all know, is wrong.
Right.
But in terms of the context of it, or the content, I should say. I don't know. Pick your word. Pick your C word. I know, me too. That's the Spider-Man's whole thing is he saves people, but they still hate him. At least like early classic Spider-Man.
Marco,
so I like that.
Yeah, Marco loves referencing superheroes and being like, why can't we? We could be going out there being superheroes. We need better superhero uniforms. I think Marco's a comic books guy. Marco wants to be a comic book superhero. Maybe partially because I guess he said earlier the superheroes don't actually die. We're gonna.
Now this is, as comic books go, Animorphs feels very Marvel. You know what I mean? It's the thing is always the DC versus the Marvel thing.
Sure.
The DC superheroes are almost, with the exception of Batman, pretty much, which is why he's the best one. They're like more like gods. When like Marvel heroes usually, at least again, things are different now because they've gone all over the place. But like traditionally, Marvel heroes are more like they have home lives, they have girlfriends, they have to deal with their taxes or whatever. That feels like an Animorph thing.
Even the like less powerful DC superheroes, that there is less of the home life aspect and less of the non-superhero persona in them. Like even when you're looking at people like The Question, who I love, or Buana Beast or whatever, you're mostly just watching them be a wacky superhero guy. You're not like, how does The Question fit in normal society? He doesn't. He sits in an apartment and goes online and looks at conspiracy theories all day.
Yeah, so that's kind of clicking for me of like, this is maybe one of the things I like about Animorphs is because I'm more of a Marvel guy.
Yeah, and that's one of my favorite parts about the series, which we might talk about in one of those scenes later on. It's one of the things I almost wish we got more of, even though we still get plenty of it, is the ways in which the fact that they have to do all this anamorphing stuff overlaps and conflicts with them having to live normal lives.
Yeah.
Makes it difficult. The other thing I wanted to mention before we move on here, we have a first chapter Letterman reference. Letterman is referenced on page 7 in chapter 1. So we sort of made up for missing Letterman for a book here.
It's good. Yeah. He needs to get home in time to watch Letterman.
Right. Oh yeah.
Gotta watch Letterman.
Is that the right time slot? He's after.
What time is it in the book?
It's after 10. He said.
Oh yeah. Letterman would have come on at 11:30 or 12:30.
Okay. For some reason, I thought it was closer to 10.
Yeah, no. Letterman was tonight's show is 11 or 11:30, and the late shows come on after like 12:30.
I'm glad I got a TV guy like you to make sure we got all this in order here.
I also, as he leaves, he throws the muggers into the dumpster, and he says he wasn't breathing real well, but I figured he'd survive.
Yeah.
This is really kind of cavalier about the whole.
I think they have to be, right? Like, you can't just go getting into a fight with a guy who's a gorilla who's shooting at you with a gun and then be like, I gotta make sure I don't hurt him. Like, oh well.
He might be dead.
Pretend.
Whatever. Yeah, I'll deal with it.
Marco's probably the least moral of all the Animorphs in terms of just being like, you did what you gotta do and fuck it. He's the opposite of Cassie in that
Can you tell the coffee's starting to kick in?
Not really.
It's been kicking in.
Oh, good.
I'm keeping it contained.
Good. Yeah. Try to contain yourself.
I don't have anything to eat, so it's just pure coffee, baby. I said to you, we didn't start the podcast until I had it.
Right.
Because I don't want anyone to talk to me until I had it.
Don't even.
Does Axe drink coffee in this book?
He
That
does
does
drink
happen,
some
doesn't
coffee,
it?
but I don't think he. Well, we'll
Get
get there. Yeah, we're getting ahead of ourselves here.
Yeah, I have
But
a couple. I want to do 40 more minutes on this dumpster scene.
right.
No,
It's
I'm
the most important thing in the book. Well, after the dumpster scene, they all go and meet up in the meadow by Cassie's farm, where they're going to discuss the plot of this book, which is that Axe wants to go home. He doesn't want to be stranded here. He's just a kid, and besides, if he goes home, maybe he can put in a good word toward getting the fleet back to Earth. He is Elfangor's son, after all. So they're gonna steal a Yerk ship for him. That's the plan. Axe can make a distress beacon and send a message to a ship that'll call the ship down. They will commandeer it, and Axe will go home. So that is their plan. They're all out having this discussion, and we get our nice little character intro section of the book where all the characters sit around and have a bunch of conversations and a bunch of funny stuff happens and we get to know everybody.
Yeah.
What? Oh, I was just going to start going into Marco's descriptions because I like some of these.
Yeah,
let's quite good.
Sure, yeah. I have some of those.
Yeah, Marco. So this is how we get to know our characters if this is your first book. Now, Jake here is described physically as having sensible brown hair.
Some people have brown hair and it's like too much.
Right. He has trustworthy brown eyes. And he's got one of those confident chins.
Yep.
That's our Jake right there.
I have a crystal clear image in my head.
Yeah.
I know what this thing I was talking about.
I'm imagining someone, but they're not 13.
Also, it really hits home for me reading these how much the even though it wasn't on that long and I don't even think I watched it that much, the TV show really impacted my I still think of Jake as that actor on the show in my head.
Interesting.
Like that's the first thing that comes to my head is that guy.
Yeah. I guess we had different levels of exposure relatively.
Yeah.
Because I don't really remember what that guy looked like.
I feel like the other characters are closer to how they look on the book covers and stuff. So those are kind of the same, but he's pretty different. Plus, again, like we said, he went on to be in like other shows and movies,
right?
So
right,
he's sort
and
of
I wouldn't
more in my mind. All right, but anyway, more descriptions.
More descriptions. He talks about how Cassie, she always knows what to say and she's always caring. And he says here, it's not like she's manipulating. She really cares about things. She's like sincere or something.
Yeah. Alien concepts.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. But that's he's not gonna. He describes Rachel as being a total babe who, unfortunately, is also totally insane.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but she's a leggy blonde supermodel type.
That's right. That's how he thinks of Rachel right there. And he uses the word dweeby to describe Tobias. He admits he doesn't even remember what Tobias used to look like, and he also says, I tease Tobias sometimes. What happened to him scares me.
Yeah, See, look how in sync we are.
We are. We've got the same things.
Same notes.
Beautiful.
Yeah, because it's it's a sad line.
It is, yeah.
A little scary.
We recognize good writing when we see it.
There's also kind of a bombshell here that he reveals that Jake and Cassie are kind of dating now.
Yeah.
Like before this, it was all just like, I sort of like him. I might hold his hand in secret. Hee hee. But now it's like, oh, they're dating.
Well, they're still doing that. Because he in fact says, shh, big secret. They're a little embarrassed.
Only Marco knows about this.
I bet Rachel knows too. Tobias, X is not going to pick up on it. Tobias might not either, but Rachel definitely knows this. But they're not like openly dating, but they are like, they'll like kind of go up to each other and hold hands and stuff.
Yeah. This is they are sort of the Chandler and Monica of the group.
I don't know that's how I would describe Jake and Cassie.
We gotta have, they're all different friends in different books. It just depends.
Yeah.
Now for some reason, he also has Axe in this scene, isn't he?
Yeah, Axe is here. He's talking to them. So we get another conversation with Axe as an Andalite here.
Yeah. And I was sort of like, I'm not really looking forward to now we have an additional page and a half of exposition about Axe every book.
Yeah.
Because that's a whole other thing you got to explain is why there's an alien.
Yep.
So,
I mean, though, that part I feel like isn't as egregious, but yeah, you do need another paragraph that's just like, here's what an Andalite is and looks like. Here he is.
Yeah. Which I guess you kind of needed anyway. to some extent.
Yeah, but it all gets tacked on at the beginning. You don't get to spread it out like in book 4, where you don't have to see him till the very end.
And Marco's description of Axe, he says, according to Cassie and Rachel, Axe is cute. I wouldn't know, being a guy.
Right? Yeah. No, he's he's a horse. Listen, I may be a zoophile.
It's not the fact that he's...
But I'm not gay.
See, I'm reading it as, it's not that he's a guy too. It's that he's a horse, and only girls are into horses.
That makes sense as well.
It's not about orientation; it's about the species.
I don't know. I'm wondering if this isn't a '90s thing where maybe Marco does think he's kind of cute, but he's going on the defensive because that's less kosher.
I wrote a note that says I think Marco is closeted.
So. He might be bi. There's going to be another part where Axe morphs human, and he says let me just actually scroll down and see it. Whatever. Fuck it. He says he could be an attractive guy or an unattractive girl, basically, is what he says.
Yeah, I'm sure I have that somewhere. Yeah. Also, Axe has no mouth, but must he scream? That's the question I had.
Axe, I think he does scream in this. Yeah, they start contemplating for the first time how Axe eats without a mouth in his normal form. We don't get that question answered for a while.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, he's kind of coy about it. I think he's more just confused about why that's a question. It's obvious to him how you eat.
It's embarrassing, maybe.
Right. It's like going up to a human and saying I don't understand how you eat, and be like, with my mouth, and everyone's like, okay, dude, whatever. But how do you eat? What the fuck's wrong with you?
Yeah. There's a lot of questions surrounding that.
Yeah. Now, I also like in this chapter when Marco is talking about the old guy he saved, and Rachel chimes in and be like, no, I think Marco did the right thing. And Marco says, oh, I guess now I know I was in the wrong. I shouldn't have done it.
Yeah. That's a good way to figure it out. Yeah, that's pretty funny.
Thank you. Rachel also is doing flips while talking, and Marco is kind of irritated with her because it's annoying and distracting. That reminded me of you a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, that would be pretty annoying. What's this why is Rachel into gymnastics? This is boring. I don't care about gymnastics.
She's a gymnast. Isn't that so cool?
I guess theoretically that would help you, if you're good at a lot of superheroes can, but if you're turning into an animal, they just do that anyway. So you don't really need that knowledge or skill base.
Yeah, I mean, she was the cool kid, so she needed to do something physically demanding in addition to being a supermodel to make her seem cooler before she became an.
Yeah, all the most popular kids in my school were always the gymnasts.
Yeah, don't you admire what's her name? That gymnast they referenced in book 1 or 2 or something?
Shannon Miller or something.
Right. Yeah. And gymnasts are pretty badass. They're cool, but yeah, nobody thinks that.
Nobody thinks that.
Yeah. Back on Axe, we do see a little bit more with Axe's character here, where he's kind of surprised that they're not fighting for honor when they're saying, oh, it's very dangerous to go up there and steal a ship. Don't you think that's a bad idea? And he's, oh, but wouldn't it be so honorable to steal a ship? And it's more dangerous, so it's more honorable. He's kind of surprised they don't think that way. And Marco, I think, somewhat correctly pegs him as having some survivor's guilt for not all the other Andalites dying. He takes a cheap shot at him, oh, have you ever even been in a fight, Axe? And kind of humiliates him on that.
How many Andalites are left? Are we to presume a lot of them are dead?
On the homeworld, there's plenty.
Okay, that's what I thought. They're not extinct or something.
No, there's plenty. There's not nearly as many as there are humans, but it will be a running theme that there's just a lot of people relative to most races that are have one single planet.
Yeah,
no, they're not hurting, but their fleet is spread fairly thin. It's kind of there's Yerks here. They've got so much fleet, they're trying to figure out where they can put it. And they did lose what they had up in Earth's orbit. There are no Andalites here.
Right. And this is however many light years away, as we'll get to. But
82. Well, I think that's here.
That was very again, I think I said it before, but this feels very Klingon-y. The whole danger is honorable.
Yeah.
It's very Klingon.
Yeah, Andalites are very, you're supposed to like them and empathize with them, but they are very Klingon-y in how ritualistic
in the
they are
next
and how
gen
warlike they are.
sense. Yeah, yeah.
I'm not as big of a Star Trek head.
Yeah.
I definitely couldn't.
In the original series, Klingons are just villains. They're just like
Right.
communists. They're basically supposed to be like the Russians or something. But in next gen, they're like more like this. They're just like they're good people who are just have strong traditions and stuff.
Yeah,
yeah. Now I like that this chapter. I like that in this book we kind of get straight to the mission.
Yes.
There's not as much fucking around as the other books.
Right. Now, we didn't get straight to the mission,
No.
to be clear. We did plenty of fucking around.
No,
here.
we're 40 minutes in and we haven't got past the first quarter of the book.
We're not even close to the first quarter. Are you kidding me? We just told you what the plot was hopefully going to be. This is the basic setup, the one sentence.
So many things happen in these. I don't know what it is.
I do think that that's going to be a trend, right? All of the podcasts are super front loaded because once they get to the action sequence at the end, it's like action happens. Cool, done.
That's very true. That's how it kind of goes. It's just like they fight, whatever. This is maybe a dumb question, but is Axe a prince?
No. Elfangor is a prince, and it doesn't mean what it means here. That's like a military title. It's like being, you get to be a sergeant, a colonel, whatever, all of that. So Elfangor was a prince. Above that, you would have a war prince, and above that, you would have a general. So Elfangor wasn't actually that high in the ranks, but he was like really good and a hero and like arch enemy to Visser III, who is of course the abomination. So he's very idolized in Andalite society.
Okay, well, that makes more sense why he calls Jake Prince Jake.
Right, that's why he calls him Prince. And we get our first Prince Jake in this book as well. In this chapter, he calls him Prince Jake, and Jake has to go, "Don't call me Prince." We'll get that joke will become more and more so there continuously. It's not that much there in this book.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and then he morphs into a human. Is that what happened, or is that later? That's going to happen soon.
Yeah, because this is the other thing here. Once they tell you what they're going to do, we almost immediately get into some nice action sequences. We are going to go to the mall to get parts. Yeah, going to the mall. We got to go to Radio Shack and buy parts so that Axe can make his distress beacon. So they make a whole time schedule how they're going to get Axe morphed to human. And they got to take the bus to the mall. But they get there, they get to the mall. Axe is immediately kind of a pain in the ass at the mall in human form, runs off to go get some coffee.
I'm drinking coffee.
You're drinking coffee right now?
I just spilled some on my pants.
He experiences taste for the first time. We're going to talk about a little bit about this because he's going to go a little bit more bonkers in a bit. But first they go and get all of the parts they need from Radio Shack, which Axe is very efficient at doing. Except that they are missing a Z-space transponder because humans have not invented Z-space, so they will have to get this some other way. The plan has sort of stalled here. So I think the first thing that I want to stop before we go further into Axe's mall adventures is this is the first time we talk about Z-space. Z-space is going to be pretty important throughout the series.
Does it ever become clear what it is?
I'll talk about basically what it is, but it never quite makes sense, but that's okay. And basically what it is in all of these, you can't go 82 light years because that would take 82 years if you could go at the speed of light. So in all the sci-fis, you got to have hyperspace or faster than light or whatever.
How many parsecs would that be?
Right. Exactly.
Go on.
But you got to have something like this, hyperdrive in Star Wars, warp factor, whatever.
Wormholes.
And in this one, it's zero space. It's Z space or zero space, which, let's see,
I know you can transpond it.
Right, you transpond through it. So where's the actual line about this here? Because I want to get what Axe says.
Does he say it at the mall?
Yeah, he says right here.
The non-dimension where faster than light travel is possible?
That's what he says. The opposite of true space, anti-reality. So
clears it all up.
Yeah,
no more questions.
I mean, as I sort of imagine Z space, and it's never strict because, of course, it can't make perfect sense within the bounds of human physics because it doesn't. But I understand it's 0 point space. So instead of in most series, you would have You've got 3-dimensional space, and then you go to 4 or 5 dimensions like a tesseract in Marvel or Wrinkle in Time. So you can kind of fold three-dimensional space and tunnel through an extra dimension, right? So in this one, we're going the opposite direction. We're going to 0-dimensional space. So all space is a single point, but somehow there's a space there. So when you translate into 0 space, all points somehow can translate to the same point, which means they can translate back anywhere. But it doesn't quite work like that, right? Because there is a space in 0 space, and it takes time to move through 0 space. But so like the Andalites can't just say, okay, we'll immediately go to 0 space and come here. It'll take them time. It could take them a year to get here through 0 space, but it might take them less. And that seems to shift, right? Like sometimes if 0 space is in one configuration, it'll take a month. And if in another configuration, it'll take a year. And there's rules to it, and they don't make sense, and they aren't very much elaborated on, but it's implied that you need to have a higher mathematical understanding than we currently do in order to get how it works.
That's called the Lovecraft cop-out. When it's like, it was too horrible to even describe.
Now, it is comprehensible. Like that, we will find out humans could comprehend it. We just haven't done it. Like, it's not like beyond our brains to do. We just don't have the mathematical foundation for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
Somehow it can be done, but the point is we haven't done it.
And you brought up Wrinkle in Time, and it just maybe one of my favorite things from that book is the way they describe, which maybe is what you're talking about. Is it's like they have a napkin.
Right.
Yeah, and you like fold it.
Yes.
To get from one point to the other.
Yeah, that's
always fun.
That's usually the standard for using like hyperspace travel is something like this.
Yeah. That's pretty good.
Yeah, Z space.
Z space.
We will see a lot more of Z space. It's going to come up quite a bit because they can use it to do a bunch of different things.
Makes me think of Star Fox. Because there's you press the Z button a lot in that game.
Oh, is that why it makes you think of that?
And you're in space.
Right. Yeah, this isn't like that. This is anti-space. And the thing is, maybe it's closer to like
Star Fox is kind of like Animorphs if you think about it.
Because there's animals.
They are animals, and
they
fight in space.
Yeah,
this is the crossover I want to see.
Z space. Maybe Z space is more like Night Howler's teleportation, right?
Night Howler? What's that?
From X-Men, right?
Oh, there's an X-Men named Night Howler?
Isn't there?
Nightcrawler?
Crawler. I don't fucking... I'm no Marco. I don't know why I said Night Howler.
No, Marco might say Night Howler with his Spider-Mans with no hyphens.
The point, Nightcrawler, yes. I don't know what I'm thinking. Nightcrawler. He doesn't really teleport. He goes through another dimension.
Oh, I don't know how he does. Is that how he does it? I don't remember.
I think that's how he does it, right? He actively walks through another. He has to go through like hell or something. At least in one of the cartoons, he does.
Sure.
That I watched. The point being that like you could think of 0 space as just being like you go through a different dimension. That's how you get there. In this case, the dimension is 0th.
Okay.
Sure.
No one is listening anymore.
Yeah.
Stop. Dolphin sex they were into.
And Animorphs fans are all listening very intently, though. They're going to the email to type up why I don't understand 0 space at all. I'm completely wrong.
Email us, theyearkeyboys@gmail.com. Let me know. Okay. What else we're in this scene? We're in the thick of this, or where do you want to go next?
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to make sure we stop to talk about 0 space here. Although I did want to say when he's going through the parts at Radio Shack, he says, this must be a primitive Gert moth. Ooh, and this could be a sort of fleer. But he recognizes immediately what the human technology must correspond to.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's convenient. It's a good thing Andalite technology is just like humans.
I mean, recognizable at a macro level, but like some of it makes sense if you're dealing with electronic stuff. You're gonna need like, you just need a capacitor. You just need a transistor.
But there could be an alien who's like, no, I use globals.
I mean, as long as you think that like binary is the most fundamental way to do these, and it kind of mathematically seems to be. So if your mathematics are the same, then you're gonna want transistors. Like, there's almost no way around this.
Okay. I was gonna say I'm mathematically non-binary.
That's clever.
And I'm a transistor. All right.
Oh, yeah, that's
Now,
really clever.
now, speaking of which,
There's something there.
I wanted to say, so Axe. So okay, can we get to the fun part now?
Yeah.
Can we stop with the nerdy shit?
Right. Well, you got to stop with the nerdy shit. Fortunately, so we already saw a little bit of Axe with taste. We can talk about his coffee experience as well. But he runs off, and starts causing problems in the food court. He in fact realizes that there's a connection between taste and smell. He follows his nose over to the food court, and he starts going wild because Andalites do not have taste. So he starts like grabbing food off of people's plates and eating it and exclaiming, "Taste! Oh, taste! Oh!" He's throwing things. Marco earlier on foolishly told him to throw the cup away when he was done with it. So he thinks when he's done with the food, he starts throwing it at people and everywhere. And mall security starts coming in at him here.
He throws a cinnamon bun at a cop in the face.
Yes, this is Axe's first cinnamon bun. His bunza.
Which okay, I mean, I don't even. There's a lot here.
Yes,
there's a lot.
Yes,
I do want to comment a little bit on Axe in his human form because I didn't have the chance to do that yet.
Yes.
First, I just want to say about Axe, we stan a biracial king.
Mm-hmm. He is.
I want to say that.
Yeah, Marco does too.
I also want to know if Axe has Marco's eyelashes.
Ooh, he has Marco's hair. They say.
Yeah, I'm curious. And then follow up question: whose dick does he have?
Maybe he just kept his own.
What do you think? That's a piece of himself.
What do you think Andalite dicks look like?
I bet we could find out if we can search.
Oh yeah, it's up there. I'm wondering if they're more like horses where they're really hung, or more like gorillas where they're really small, even though you'd think they'd be quite large. We're getting back into our book 4 type stuff here.
This is what I want. Not enough of this transponder shit.
I did have things to say about gorilla sex, it turns
out. Now, I don't know. I wish I could remember why and where I wrote this. But I said that I appreciated the commitment on K. Applegate's part to writing this book like a teenage boy. I think maybe he like mentioned a girl or something. In the mall, pretty girls. I think his description of like people in the mall, like he mentions girls and stuff.
Right, I think that's like right at the beginning of a chapter.
Yeah. I have it here.
Here it is.
And this also made me wonder in my head: did I know when I was a kid when I read this book that the author was a woman? Was there like an author bio? Because it's just K.A. I might have just being a sexist little boy assumed it was a man.
Could have.
You're looking at the book right now. Is there any like K. Applegate? Is there a picture of her?
I mean, I always knew K. Applegate was a woman.
I feel like I did. Like I can't remember a time when I didn't. But
I don't see anything that proves it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just a thought that occurred to me.
So you could spread a playground rumor. Did you know K. Applegate's actually a man? No one would know.
No one would know.
There's no internet back in that.
But I really like this mall scene. First of all, it was nostalgic. Remember when malls used to be crowded?
Mm-hmm. I do.
Crazy. I mean,
way back.
Yeah, and he describes it as like they're pushing through like hordes of people.
Yeah, because I the mall near me is still relatively active, so I think like, there's still some malls that are crowded, but they're not crowded like he describes it here.
This is like Black Friday levels.
Yeah, and this is just a regular day, and I think this is normal for their description of the mall. I feel like it was like this back in book 3 too, and when they go back to the mall, it's still like this.
Yeah. I really like this. The food rampage is great.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's delightful. One might even say and delightful. And something that I feel like we reference more than most people. In fact, you brought it up yesterday. Is the scene in Stephen King's The Dark Tower when Roland drinks Pepsi for the first time.
Ooh, yes.
And I felt like that was very reminiscent of Axe drinking coffee and eating cinnamon buns. It's that same thing of experiencing Earth food for the first time.
Although for Axe, it's just the sensation of taste.
True,
like Axe is going to be like eating cigarette butts as one of his favorite foods, just because Like anything that
He is
gives
like a
a
Klingon.
sensation.
Like, Klingons love prune juice and weird shit.
Yeah, X just wants to feel something in his mouth. It doesn't matter if it's good or bad. It's fascinating to him.
Yeah.
That reminds me of me a bit.
So all of that is great, and I do. It is a little worrying. So they spell Cinnabon wrong in this book. It's Cinnabon,
right,
with an O, but it's spelled like UN in the book. Cinnabon.
Right. Well, because he's getting a bun there. Marco's an idiot. He just doesn't know how to spell.
Right.
He's bad at school. He loves. He's not.
You're right.
He loves his references, but he never learned how to spell.
You're right. So yeah, this is a fun scene. This is exciting. He gets to hit a cop, and you get some like, we're already at like a Yerk sees him. You know, he's an Andalite in the mall. I don't know, maybe we're not at that point.
Season?
Sees him.
Oh, sees him.
Sorry, I'm slurring my words.
You're so excited about what's happening here. Yeah,
it's a Yerk for all seasons.
Yeah, he's got to be running from the controller. Well, he's running from the mall cops, and he's kind of panicking. So he starts demorphing to Andalite, which is actually probably really good for their cover, honestly. Yes. You know, with some random kid, you know, they're all like, well, isn't there always these kids who are causing problems? Oh, some kid in the mall demorphed to an Andalite. Okay, they have kid morphs for some reason. I don't know why they're doing that. Maybe because Chapman is, I don't know. But anyway, they're all running, and one of the cops goes, "Oh my God, it's an Andalite!" And so that's when they realize, "Oh shit!" You know, so that mall cop, doesn't he like shoot at him?
Probably.
Do mall cops have guns?
They definitely
don't think they do. They're not real.
Absolutely not.
I mean, real cops are on their way at a certain point here, and I don't know if that's because of how much havoc is there, or if that's because the controller called his controller cop buddy and said, "You got to get over here." But they run into a grocery store in the mall. I've never seen a grocery store in a mall.
Oh, is it in the mall? I thought, for some reason, they just like ran all the way to another grocery store nearby.
I thought it was attached. It was like one of those big JCPenney's, but it's a full. I mean, I've seen Rite Aids in the mall, that kind of thing.
Sure.
I've seen a Target attached to a mall. I guess that's not. I guess not. That's close enough, right? Anyway, there's a grocery store. They barricade themselves in to try to buy time. And Marco clears out bystanders here by calling in a bomb threat, which that would not fly these days. But they do this so that they can buy time to morph into a lobster and hide in the lobster tank until the dust settles.
Marco's also not white, so if you do that today, the cop would just shoot him.
I mean, they do it back then too. It was not better back then. I'll tell you that.
They would shoot him before he even said anything. They'd just be like, "What are you doing in this mall?"
Well, the only mall cop who's doing any shooting is the controller, and he doesn't give a shit. That's not what he's about.
It's the way it's described is the grocery store across the parking lot. So
okay. So they did leave the mall.
It is right next to it though. So
yeah, that's
you could argue it's like part of the same mall shopping center or something.
But that's not weird, right? To be like there's a big mall in the center, and then because that's already a central location, there's lots of shopping complexes.
I still don't feel like I've seen that much, but it's less weird. It's understandable.
Yeah, I mean, now that I'm thinking about it, like Target attached to mall is close enough. I can imagine a grocery store there. Yeah,
sure. Target was a grocery store basically now.
Yeah, and it's. I mean, like, yeah, whatever. It's pretty normal to have other type of things.
Yeah, so everything here is normal.
Whatever. I just feel like this is pre-Columbine. And I feel like that's really going to be the point where you just can't have your kid.
I'm glad we finally brought up Columbine on this show.
It's been too long. We brought up September 11th in episode 0. So, but yeah, I mean, like there comes a point where you just can't have a kid run into a crowded area and be like, "Bomb! There's a bomb! Everybody out! Bomb!"
Yeah, but I will point something out about that in a minute, but it'll occur after this next
okay, good.
This next scene.
I'm glad. Well, they morph the lobsters. They wait for the dust to settle.
Right.
The lobster morphs are described as being exceptionally gross.
These are some of the grossest morph sequences that we have seen yet.
Yes, there's like legs erupting out of their chest. Their face is like splitting into valves. Marcus says he wanted to throw up, but he didn't have a mouth to throw up with anymore. It's very gross.
It's super fucked up.
But I guess nobody took the bomb threat seriously because they get bought and taken home.
This is what I was gonna say. It's like at most an hour.
Yes, they say it's about an hour, and Axe was keeping track of time.
And that, like, presumably, I'm thinking, oh, the cops are gonna have this place shut down and be looking through it for like the rest of the day.
No, some lady comes in and buys them. They get put on ice. They're all sluggish, and then all of a sudden, Axe goes, "We only got 7 minutes left. We're about to be stuck in lobster morph." And Marco realizes he's about to be thrown into a pot of boiling water and morphs back to human. And this poor lady has to deal with the lobsters becoming people and screaming. Like, Marco is like shrieking, "No!" in thought speak while a mouth appears. So she's having a full-on meltdown. But it's all okay because they tell her, it's just a dream, but don't tell anybody about this because they'll think you're crazy. And she's like, "Yeah, no, not telling anybody." There's a lot of close calls like this in Animorphs. It's a good thing she's not a controller or doesn't become infested 2 months down the line.
They literally use "it was all a dream" on her.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, it doesn't even matter. I think because she's probably just like, "This is not a dream, but I'm not fucking telling anybody." No. They need like a Men in Black.
Yes, the neuralizer.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. There's a lot of it's really good and convenient. Like, thank God they all got bought by one woman.
Yeah.
They could have been split up.
Yeah.
This woman needed 3 lobsters that day and decided to cook them ASAP.
There's more lobsters in there. Marco actually tells her, "Hey, do me a favor and release those other lobsters you bought." This is a big dinner.
She's having a cookout. She's getting things ready.
Yeah.
I question, what happened to their clothes? Because they turn into lobsters.
They do stash the Radio Shack parts because, like, this isn't they don't lose them. They don't have to go back and do it again. So maybe they like stash them in a trash can.
There's
so
not
maybe
just some socks in the tank next to them or something,
Yeah, they probably strip down and
okay.
Rachel or whoever can go back and retrieve their clothes and their their materials.
Okay, we can resume that. That's
Why
fine.
not? Why not?
Again, I guess pre 9/11, nobody gave a shit about a bomb threat.
Yeah, it just doesn't. Whatever. They're just kids fucking around.
This scene is nuts. It's
good.
If you had never read Animorphs and you read this scene, you'd be like, this book series is out of control.
It's insane, one might say.
I tried not to say it.
This book in general is gonna keep throwing crazy shit at you.
It's really already it hits some peaks.
Yeah.
I mean,
I do like the lobsters going around and thinking, eat, kill, and eat.
Yeah, the lobsters are not exactly geniuses, Marco, or Axe points that. Or no, I guess it's Marco. Marco says that. I don't think lobsters are exactly geniuses.
Yeah.
So Cassie has no qualms about fucking around with them.
Yeah, no, there's no problem. Cassie. I also like the lady when she's standing there terrified and they're turning back to human. She says, "You lobsters." It feels true to life.
Yeah, that's the worst thing she can think of. You lobsters.
Yeah. Oh, also, you said earlier, it's told from the perspective of a teenage boy. Marco does make a note that he thinks the lady is pretty. Marco's kind of a playboy.
Bit of a horn dog, this Marco.
Yeah.
And I mean, well, you know what it probably is? Misplaced, it's mommy issues. It's like, she's pretty. I wish she would read me a bedtime story.
Right. That makes sense. Marco's mom, I'm pretty sure, is described as being exceptionally attractive.
Well, we'll get to that. We'll talk about that.
We will. But
This is a good podcast.
Oh yeah.
Go on.
This is good. But I suppose we're done with the lobsters.
I'm done with the lobsters. Point. I mean, I could talk about them forever.
Yeah,
but
they put them on the cover of some of the international editions to this book instead of the gorilla. I don't remember which ones.
Really?
Yeah.
So there's a whole morph sequence of the lobster.
Yeah, you could look it up if you're on Seropedia right now. I think the cover's on there.
Oh, that's fascinating. Yeah. I didn't see that on
we did have more to say about the lobsters.
Oh God, the cover for the 2011 edition is
they're
so weird. I hate it.
Whoever was in charge of those should be shot or something.
Yeah, you see the lobster version too. Yeah, wow. I mean, I sort of kind of wish it was that. Because I do like when it's actually with the... I mean, sure, he has a gorilla in this book, but
yeah,
the lobster is more memorable.
Yeah, and Marco's... I mean, I guess because it's an early book, you need to hit the basic morphs to get him out of the way. But Marco's a gorilla in every book where he fights. I don't know if they ever go lobster again. Maybe once.
Yeah.
It's just not useful.
Once you go lobster.
Like, what are you going to use your lobster morph for? When do you need to be a lobster to infiltrate?
When you want to... do a funny video where you recreate a scene from Annie Hall.
Maybe Visser 3 is throwing a get together and you need to show up like with this lady.
Oh, I really like... Sorry, now I didn't know there were all these international covers. Now I'm looking at the Japanese cover of this book.
Ooh.
It's so good.
I've seen some of the illustrations that the Japanese books get. They can be a little out there.
Yeah, they're really weird. Just everybody can look that up for yourself. Check out the Japanese cover.
Okay, maybe once I can.
It looks like a little chibi version of Marco. Ooh. And the morph transitions are more like, it's almost like he's a ghost, like transitioning. It's very transparent as he becomes a little smiley gorilla.
I wonder how expensive they are if I tried to collect them.
Oh man,
get a Japanese cover.
Yeah, I wonder who has someone's got to have a great collection of every version of every Animorph book.
I don't need the 2011 versions.
Il Predatore, by the way, is the Italian name.
Yeah. Why is it called the Predator? You made a whole joke about that, but
they mention. Didn't they say something about the lobsters being predators?
That can't be. That can't be what. No.
Yeah.
I mean, the lobsters are predators.
Yeah, because it's not the predators. It's implied that there's one predator.
Right, the lobster he morphs.
Maybe it's an ant?
This is the most important scene. That's why we spend so much time on it here. If there's one thing you need to know from this book, it's about the lobsters they turn into. That's why I called it that.
Yeah, once again, terrible title. Go on.
Yeah, not good. Well...
Oh my God, I'm sorry.
Keep going.
I can't keep derailing the episode because all I want to talk about is things listeners can't see. Just please go on Seropedia for this book page because there is an illustration apparently for Scope magazine, which I've never heard of, which shows Marco... Jake and Axe in the grocery store, mid-morph between human and lobster.
Oh, that sounds good.
And it is Marco standing with human legs and a mostly lobster body, stalks coming out of his face.
Jesus.
And in the background is an old lady just looking at him in horror. And it's the best image I've ever seen in my life.
Beautiful. You can get an art print of that and frame that.
I can't look at these pictures anymore because they're they're too distracting.
You need to close out.
Please, what happens next?
After that, we have our standard regroup scene. Marco has a nightmare about turning into the lobsters and getting cooked alive and weird stuff like that. And his dad wakes him up screaming. They have a conversation about his mom, and we get a nice little scene with them. We get to see a little bit more of that emotional core of him and his dad dealing with that grief. And after that, they meet up. Axe constructs the device. All the Animorphs meet up, not Marco and his dad. Axe constructs the device, but it doesn't work without the Z-Space transponder, so they have to figure out what to do. And they realize that Chapman must have a Z-Space transponder in his basement, so they're going to go in and get that. So, again, we get our early scene. Things kind of go, we're setting up, some weird stuff happens, now we got to regroup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is our first real we got a glimpse of Marco's home life in the last book, but this is our first, it's a more in-depth version of it. And we discover that Marco's mom died, but we find out how she died here, don't we?
They said earlier it was a boating accident or a sailing accident, I think.
But this is where he really tells you he's like, we don't even know why she went out on a boat or something.
Yeah, well, she was a regular sailor. She sailed regularly, but they don't know why she went out that night. It's, it was kind of like you wouldn't normally go out alone at night. Doesn't make sense. What's up with the conditions? They weren't particularly good, but she made a bad decision and went and did it and found the wreckage of the ship, but never found her body.
Yes, and that's most importantly, even as from you watch enough movies, read enough comic books, if there's not a body, then they're not dead. And I'm like, oh, I didn't know that was going to come back in this book. I thought maybe that's something to tuck away for later.
Right. Well, no spoilers for the end of this episode where we find out.
Was someone reading the book along, as they listen?
No.
Like this is a commentary track.
There's two people that I know that I would like to listen to this podcast who I don't think have read Animorphs. So
yeah, Barack Obama and Michelle.
Right. I think they've read Animorphs.
Maybe. I bet Sasha and Malia have. So
kids. Yeah. So they probably read them to them as kids.
But that was like a big. I was like, okay, there's got to be something with his mom. That's interesting. But yeah, we'll come back to that.
But yeah, it's like kind of again, there's got to be a nightmare in all these books now. They have to deal with
I don't
this.
blame them. I get it. I'm going to have nightmares just from reading about it.
Yeah. But he's when his dad wakes him up, Marco's first thing he says is "Mom." So it's kind of, it's a little sad.
It's very sad. It's very
sad. But yeah, they have that whole conversation. We also know that the 2-year anniversary of his mom's death is coming up. I don't know that we've mentioned that in an earlier book, but it's coming up like very, very soon. And this goes back to Marco's motivations with this, as he's reflecting on how he lost his mom and he never found what happened. There's no body. There's all this grief with no real catharsis. And he's imagining, Axe's parents. Elfangor's dead, but nobody knows he's dead. Nobody knows how he died. Axe is gone. Nobody knows where he is. So he can sort of imagine that parallel. And it's like, yeah, I know we almost died once again. We had lobster trauma once again. But I still, we got to try to get Axe home,
Yeah. He's a hero with a heart of gold.
He is.
Yeah. And I also, something I appreciate in this section of the book, and in general in this book, there's a few parts where, it's subtle, but there is some serialization that's important. It's these, they reference specifically like past events multiple times.
Yes.
It's not written as like, we just pretend nothing, it's a total reset, like a sitcom or something.
Right. Yeah, no, there is an arcing story through Animorphs.
Yeah. Which I knew, but I feel like it's more, they could have, I keep saying they, I guess right now it's still just she, but I guess maybe and her husband.
Yeah, helped. Michael Grant was working on it too, but I don't know the details of exactly to what extent.
But, like they could have made an effort to make it more like, we really don't want to alienate people, no pun intended. But I like that it's like, no, like this stuff happened, we're gonna talk about it. It's not overwhelming, but it's nice when you're reading them in order, you notice it.
Yeah, it's like back when TV was on TV, and not you just binged it all at once. It's like Justice League or Batman or X-Men, these adventure kids cartoons where like there are storylines throughout them, but really you're supposed to just pop in and watch the episode and get it anyway. Yeah. The storyline is a little bit of a treat that you can start to pick up on as you become a regular viewer.
Yeah.
It's nice. Oh, we get some more bird racism in this scene. We're talking from Tobias here.
I'm glad. I wasn't sure when to bring this up because I too. They mentioned that golden eagles sometimes prey on hawks again.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is a big deal. The golden eagle thing is big.
Tobias does not like golden eagles.
It's so funny. Like it's such a specific. No one in the world, unless you read these books, knows. Yeah. Probably doesn't. I didn't even know if I knew a golden eagle was a type of eagle.
See, here's the problem: is that I read these books too much, so I always knew what a golden eagle was. They're like really big eagles. They can prey on other birds sometimes. Tobias doesn't like them.
Tobias doesn't like them.
Yeah. He also has got opinions on owls, though I don't think it comes up here. He's very enamored with owls because they're so good at night.
Yeah, that may have come up in another
I think
book.
It did, yeah.
Yeah. We get to their brilliant plan, though.
We do get to their brilliant plan. So they're going to morph ants. to get into Chapman's house here. So they go...
Which is like, call up my mom's sister.
Right. Well, fortunately, Jake and Rachel have some ants at the ready here because they're cousins. So they have easy access.
Yep.
Right. And, well, they go to the house next door to Chapman's. They go, it's empty, fortunately. Good luck on their part. But they go there to morph into some ants, and they morph into ants so that they can go in there.
And yeah, that's it. No need to go further than that.
Yeah, no need to go further than that. But, yeah, so morphing into ants is one of the more traumatic things that they do. Like, not even, before anything even happens, just becoming ants. Because
if you thought lobsters were bad.
Yeah, if you thought when they become ants,
we're gonna top that.
The ant mind comes in, and rather than being like nervous or scared of it basically just completely obliterates the ego entirely. Like, they aren't selves, they aren't individuals, they are parts of a greater whole. And the writing style even shifts at this point into like, go to this area, pick up the part of the beetle, enemies are near, type of thing. They all completely lose themselves, and Tobias is like, guys, are you there? And as they slowly regain themselves, they come back screaming. Axe is so freaking terrified. Axe, I think, throughout the series, we often see Axe. I don't know if the implication is that Andalites are smarter or something, but they're more affected by things like this, things that affect the conscious mind in some way. But yeah, Marco comes back screaming, and she says, Tobias thought I was being killed. That wasn't it at all. I was being reborn.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then,
Yeah, lots of people are like crying.
He says, while he's an ant and I opened my cutting mandibles wide and bit into the beetle, slicing tough shell, biting into meat.
Yes. Yeah, and it switches back and forth, which I like, because he starts off saying like, oh yeah, my antennae were smelling this, but then he switches into full on, I've got a quote, strangers, the smell of others, they would come, there would be killing soon. So lots of like passive voice, lots of like descript, but no I. And then as we get farther, there's a little bit more like my mandibles, and he almost gets confused by, wait, me? My?
Would ants be described as a hive mind? Is that accurate? Or is that like a more different thing?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know if that's what I would call a hive mind, but I would say that they're like fully fungible. They're not NFTs.
Thanks. That's good.
Yeah.
I was wondering if I could funge them.
Right.
I know that I can. I did like initially that they're doing bugs, because that was when they first went into the basement. I was like, why don't you just be a bug?
Mm-hmm.
So I like that they're like, yeah, you know what, he was right. They listened to me.
Yeah,
they heard my complaint.
Yeah,
we're gonna be a bug.
Yeah,
and I'm like, oh, this is why you don't be a bug.
Bad idea. Yeah,
this is why you don't. It's bad.
I think Cassie feels bad once again because ants were her suggestion, and when they come, she's like, I should have known. I knew too much about ants. I should have known that it was going to be horrific.
Yeah. I do wonder. I mean, ants are a new level of terror, but is this going to happen every time they morph into any small animal? Are we going to have to endure 10 pages of I'm out of control for a while? Do they ever get a handle on this?
The first time they morph any animal,
it's always
always have to get a little bit of this, I think, or at least that's normal throughout. But as they rack up more morphs, I think
they don't have to acquire as many new ones.
Right. Like, you'll get a section at the beginning, like the lobster section, but you might just have a fun lobster section. And then, okay, for the rest of it, we can be battle morphs. Or in some books, they might not even get anything new as we go further. Or like the new thing will be like, I had to acquire a poodle because, being Homer wouldn't work or something.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Yeah, a little better.
It's basically the same. I've already dealt with this kind of thing before. Type of thing. But yeah, listen, K. Applegate wants kids to understand animals. So we need to have pages where you empathize with what it's like to be this particular animal.
Right. Your part of it is learning about the animals.
Right.
It's a fun part. Now, before we get to Chapman's basement, I want to reverse a little bit, because we kind of glossed over the section where they're at school.
Oh yeah.
And not much happens in that section, really. But I did want to talk about the fact that they, at least this was the first time I noticed it being mentioned. They try not to hang out together so no one notices they are friends.
Yeah, I think in the earlier books they weren't doing that. This might be the first time. Your cats are misbehaving very badly right now in the background.
They think that it's dinner time, but which is 2 hours away, so they're acting up.
But yeah, no, this is at this point in the series they've decided that they're going to try to pretend not to be very close for some reason.
Is this really necessary? Like, it will be too suspicious if 5 kids hang out, like all other groups of kids.
Yeah, and it's not even like crazy because, right, Jake and Cassie are dating. Jake and Marco are best friends. Cassie
Jake
and Rachel
are cousins.
Yeah, Cassie and Rachel are best friends. Like they're in a friend group.
Yeah. This is very weird to me. I don't understand this precaution.
They're just overly worried. They don't know what's...
We've got to be really careful about that, but we're just going to casually drop street names in our book series or whatever.
What did they say here? That
Margolis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
I also, this made me wish, maybe this happens, but I doubt it. I don't know. It seems like it doesn't. I wish there wasn't a morph limit because I want Axe to have adventures at school as a human. I want some Invader Zim style alien disguised as a human.
You might get a little bit of Axe as a human at school.
Give me a sly grin.
There might be a little bit of Axe adventures as human. I don't remember if he's at school, but next book you might get some fun Axe adventures.
Wow. Now you could get away with that in a college. You could just do a class and morph back after the lecture. Yeah. But high school you got to be there, or not in middle school. They're in middle school.
You can go to the bathroom in between as long as you
guess. Yeah.
Don't worry about being an andalite in the stall and then people walking in and figuring it out.
That sounds like a good. That's a setup for an Austin Powers scene where someone's in the stall next to them and they hear the morphing.
Yeah, I like that.
Woo! What's going on in there, buddy?
Yeah. I was actually thinking about that earlier because they had that whole schedule for Axe at the mall that was super tight, and I was thinking, what if you just used the mall bathroom to demorph while you were there? Maybe they're too worried about. I guess malls are too crowded back in the day,
right? Yeah,
so you'd have the stall problem. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know.
So anyway, but anyway, okay.
They get into Chapman's house.
They're ants.
Yeah, once they get in, they crawl through the tunnels, the concrete. They get into Chapman's house. And demorph in the office. They find his computer. They access his computer. And we find out in the files on his computer that Visser 1 is going to be visiting Earth soon. So it's not just Visser 3. We've got like an inspection coming up by this higher ranked Visser in the order. And Axe gets his transponder. There's a bunch of redundant ones. So they've got all their stuff. They're ready to go. We find out a couple of important things in here.
Yeah. I'd say so.
Yeah. Find out about the Visser. We find out that there are 47 Vissers right now.
In a row?
In a row. That's in my notes. It says in a row right here.
That wasn't in my notes, but it just no. So that's good.
Yeah, we're on the same page here.
Literally and figuratively.
Yeah. I also like that Chapman's got this weird like holographic box computer, but the file system structure is basically the same. So Marco's going through the files and Axe looks at him and goes, "You can use a computer?"
That's pretty funny.
It's good.
Yeah, I don't even know if before this it was implied, but I don't even know if they explicitly stated before now that there were other Vissers.
I don't remember if they do. I think I said it in the podcast.
I mean, you can figure it out because it's like what his name just happens to be 3 or something like that's stupid. But
yeah.
But yeah, this really drives it home that like, oh, Visser 1 is the most powerful.
Right. If Vissers are like your top generals, I feel like in the actual army, you don't label your generals as like this general. We've got 5 top level generals and they're ordered 1 to 5. So one of them, is just more.
We'll find out more about sort of the structure of the Vissers in this book. And it's very bizarre. And that and like the Council of 13.
Yes, who rule everything.
47 Vissers. I don't know how honestly the Yeerks don't just collapse as a society just because they're so batshit. Incompetent.
We can talk more about what we see of the Yeerks as a society, but I will say that right now I mean, in general, I
there's
guess
more to come.
Yeah, but I can just say, I guess, that what we see of Yeerk society is effectively in just entirely the military branch of the society. And also it is at a point where there isn't another branch. It's almost like you've got all these different elements of society. One of them's military, but military has effectively become the government. So you've got this like entirely militarized society from the top down. And that's kind of part of what's going on here. I don't know if that helps understand it a little bit more.
That makes sense. We also get the info that only Visser 3 is the only one with an Andalite.
I thought we've said that a couple times before, but yes, we do get that info.
Maybe, but it drove it home to me that it's like Visser's 1 and 2 must be some bad motherfuckers if they don't even they're stronger and they can't even morph.
Yeah.
What makes them so scary?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe we'll find out. I guess.
We will find out. But yeah, I mean, Visser 3's thing...
He can turn into a fucking rock monster with a million
Well, politically,
legs.
They're stronger. They've got more military victories under their belt. They understand how to... One thing Visser 3 cannot do is use his underlings to accomplish goals.
Visser 3 is a pretty shitty leader.
Yeah. That's right.
So, yeah, okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, there's... They turn back into ants after this.
Yeah, they do. They go back into ants. They don't want to go back into ants. In fact, when they get into the room at first, Marco is the one to demorph. I know I'm backtracking a bit.
Yeah, no, that's good.
But it really should have been Axe in case somebody was there. Then you just be like, oh, an Andalite and not, oh, a human.
Could they not tell that anyone's there? I guess they couldn't.
I don't think they could. They couldn't. Marco had to like flip the lights on and off to let them know.
Right.
But I think they go into the decision sort of made because Marco's like, I'm out. I want out. I do not want to be an ant. I'm done. It's me. I'm turning human. I don't care if I get shot with a laser beam. Fuck this.
Fuck ants, man.
Yeah.
And then he mentions like, what's next? We're going to turn into a virus.
Yeah. I will not be a phlegm, I think he says.
Yeah. Is that, can they do that? I guess my real question is, could the Animorphs have maybe been responsible for COVID-19? Maybe one of them turned into a bat and another one turned into COVID.
They'd have to know they were touching it and be focusing on it. And there is going to come a book where that might be possible, but there's going to be weird mechanics and we will talk about it.
This is just making me think like, what about like, I don't know, fucking mitochondria or some shit?
Yeah. I mean, that's less crazy than a virus. I mean, a virus is not even really alive, but it has DNA. Like at that point, you're getting on the edge of like, what is morphing technology? Can you morph something with DNA that isn't alive but isn't dead?
This is wrinkling my brain. Could you morph Mr. DNA from the Jurassic Park?
Yes.
Okay.
That one's acceptable.
Okay.
Well, whatever. Yeah, this is...
That was my only
I know
question.
this is really important and all, but... They morph back to the ants and they carry the transponder out through the tunnel. They're very strong as ants, so they can carry. It's about the size of a pea, I think we see.
They're about as strong as a gorilla.
And as they're going through the tunnel, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, they get attacked by the ants that are there. And the attack is described as being like overwhelming in its intensity. Like 1 second, they're totally fine. And another second, a wall of bodies has just engulfed them from all sides. And they're being dismembered, ripped apart, sprayed with acid, to the point where within 10 seconds of the start of the attack, they just have to demorph or they're dead. Like, end of story. Are we still in the concrete wall and we're going to demorph and squish ourselves and die? Are there people here watching? What is going? Doesn't matter. They're dead if they don't demorph. So they all demorph, basically, again, screaming, and they come out of the ground because they're just barely under the surface in the backyard, fortunately. I think Marco describes it as like climbing up out of a grave. And Rachel is like stomping the swarming ants. They're all kind of panicked. Yeah, but they get out. They don't die to the ants. But this to me is the scene that I think sticks with me as of the early books, the most traumatic scene, like the most fucked up, traumatic, Jesus Christ scene.
Which I feel like pre this was lobsters. I think they're
up in the ante in this book.
It was like, you're in for some shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of the choice moments here. My leg, they bit off my leg.
Mm-hmm.
He was trying to bite me in half. One of my legs came loose, torn away, ripped out by the roots, and I could feel my waist being sawed through by grinding sharp mandibles. And it's once they get out, it's described as thousands of ants.
Yeah, like you've seen the
Is that?
swarming of the ants.
I feel like hundreds, maybe thousands. That's a lot of ants.
There are a lot of ants out there. I mean, yeah, they probably only had hundreds on them personally.
Yeah,
but the colony certainly had thousands.
This is some aliens level shit.
Yeah,
I mean,
it does make me consider why they acquired an ant morph and then went here instead of coming here and then acquiring the ant morph from the colony.
And not being an enemy.
Yeah. Like, I think they have some bullshit at the beginning where they're like, should we be red or black ants? Because the red and black ants are enemies. They'll fight. But Cassie doesn't she doesn't know enough about ants to realize that, no, ants are some of the most warlike things in the world. In the real world, there's like an ongoing ant world war right now with like invasive species of ants that have populated every continent and are like, there's like fronts. If you look at like entomologists, they can like draw fronts across the United States between like this invasive species colony versus these non-invasive ones that are in. Yeah, it's insane.
Now, I don't know if this is a real quote, but Marco says he picked up a book about ants later on. And the author, again, I don't know if Kay Applegate made this up. It's not attributed to a person, but he presents it as if it's a quote from a book. If ants had nuclear weapons, they would probably end the world in a week. Yeah, fuck ants, man.
Yeah.
They're pieces of shit.
Yeah, and the same thing, he says, lots of people think that only humans fight wars, that only humans are murderous. Let me tell you something. Compared to ants, human beings are full of nothing but peace, love, and understanding.
Yeah.
I like that it takes a stance against the kind of like, crunchy hippie eco bullshit. It's just like, oh, but animals are so nice. And it reminds me of that Family Guy joke with the lady who's
you can't hug your children.
You can't hug your children with nuclear arms. Yeah. Yeah. If you remember back when Family Guy was good, if you think that that's true.
Yeah, I always will and I always do. Yeah. Never feel bad about stepping on an ant.
Yeah.
They're bastards.
That's right. It's fine. There's no problems. Oh, man.
Yeah. So, but at least they don't turn into ants again. We move past that now.
Yeah. They,
in this book,
they're pretty set against ever turning into ants again for any reason, even if they have to get small. What if we could morph a different small insect that wasn't an ant? Let's just not do that one ever again. Now, this affects them the way that it is intended to affect the reader too. They don't just, okay, we did the ants, that's terrible. Nothing, moving on. Next thing. Because we go to school after this, and at school everybody is like visibly fucked up, like rings under the eyes, not doing well. And we get a great scene. This is the kind of scene that I love for these. You were talking about earlier how it's Marvel-esque, right, in the books. But they're in the lunchroom and Rachel is sitting there. Everybody's just kind of eating on their own silently. And some other girl comes up behind her and kind of gives her some shit, bumps into her. And Rachel full on like jumps up, grabs the girl by the neck and body slams her onto the table. And is like, don't you fucking touch me.
That's the quote. That's what she says.
That's almost exactly the quote without the fucking.
Yeah.
But yeah, Marco has to run in and break it up. He's got to be the reasonable one here. They all get in trouble. They get sent to Chapman's office. And Marco notices a dangerous look in Rachel's eyes. Like she's maybe going to just start like revealing she's an animorph and taunting him. So he's got to make a little joke to calm the situation down here. Where he says the two girls were fighting over him because he's, of course, so handsome. They both want him. He says,
I believe it.
Yeah, absolutely. But we get, it's nice. I like these kinds of school scenes. And the whole school thing kind of ends with Marco basically telling Jake, you know what? I'm out. This is the last mission. I'm going to help Axe get home. And that's it. I'm done. No more of this.
Yeah.
But yeah, we got a nice little scene of them dealing with the fact that this happened to them.
Yeah, and you get the added the layer of fun of the Chapman being a yerk.
Yes, yeah, that's also good.
Which I also the whole time I'm just imagining this
Yeah,
fucking yerk is just like, I don't want to do this
yeah,
shit.
Rich
This isn't my job.
in this 226 having to say, now Rachel, I thought you of all people knew better than to fight in the cafeteria.
Yeah, he doesn't give a shit. He's like,
right.
God damn these stupid fucking humans. Why are they doing this?
Yeah.
I don't want to think about this. I got a fucking Candrona to run. Um, yeah. So that we also got now right before all the Rachel business.
Yes.
We also get a little more insight into Marco's
Mm-hmm.
life again and his backstory. We find out his dad used to be a scientist,
right,
and that he basically just spiraled into depression after his wife died.
Yeah, I don't remember how many of those details were in the earlier books, but yeah, like his boss Jerry gave everyone's favorite character Jerry.
So weird that he gets name dropped specifically.
Yeah, Jerry is like a good guy and he gives him time off.
Not even like Mr. something. It's just
Jerry. No, he's a family friend. He's been over for, but he like gives him time off and says like, take as much time as you need. And a month later, all right, it's cool. 3 months later, 6 months, a year later, all right, well. And so now he just works as a janitor, a night janitor, I think.
I think I kind of came around on this by the end of the book,
mm-hmm.
but I sort of at first felt it cheapened it a little. I don't know. I didn't really like that. Like his family should be like well off, but it's just because his wife died that they're traumatized, as opposed to just like, they're just a lower class family.
Yeah.
But I guess maybe like Tobias already kind of was that.
Yeah, Tobias has that.
But it feels a little strange to be like, yeah, if you work hard, you could be a scientist, but if you're sad, you'll be a janitor. You know what I mean? I don't know. I'm not sure if that's
too meritocratic here.
Yeah, maybe. It was, but it is, I don't know. It's something. It's sort of it's a different sort of a take on it. That's, I guess.
I mean, yeah, this gives his dad a little bit more of a rounded character. That we can use going forward.
It's a fleshing out. Yeah, something. But yeah, all it's nice, like you said, to see you see how the Animorph stuff is affecting their normal lives too.
And one of the other things I think is interesting, Marco even starts this off by saying, I was cool, I was fine, I slept okay. Like he's still got all the ant trauma, but he can like compartmentalize it.
Yeah.
And he talks to Rachel later, where she's saying, I wish I could just turn everything into a joke. And he's like, yeah, I mean that's what Marco does. Marco is almost better at dealing with this kind of trauma than all the other Animorphs in a way, but not necessarily a healthy way. He's not necessarily like processing it and coming to terms with it, but he can put it aside and just not let it affect him. Probably something he learned from his mom's death.
Yeah, it's why Marco's so cool and in control.
Yes, that's what Rachel says, cool and in control.
Yeah, I like it. See? That's why it's good when you make shitty offensive jokes.
Right, yeah.
We need us.
Where he says, lock me up in a rubber room nutso, I think. He just uses that phrase in here.
A little bit. Yeah, some of the mental illness.
Should have just said insane.
Yeah. But so that's all good.
Yeah, and there's one other thing. They mention a teacher, Mr. Halloran, in here.
Oh, I missed that.
It's like he's like in the lunchroom or something, or maybe he's the one who breaks up the fight. But that name sounds familiar, and I think we get to see Mr. Halloran again like once. I think.
Halloran?
Yeah, Halloram.
I was gonna say Brian O'Halloran, I think, is the actor who played Dante in Clerks.
Wow. Wow, maybe that's a reference.
That must be what it is. 47 Vissers in a row.
Yeah. We know what movie she just watched when she wrote this.
Clearly. Okay. So this is all good, and then and now we get into the climax.
Yeah, we get to actually do the plan that they said they were going to do in the first chapter that we spent 40 minutes on. They fly out to a quarry to set up the beacon out in the middle of the woods. They go battle morphs and they hide waiting for a ship to respond to the beacon, but it's a trap. The ship comes down. They come out to meet the Hork-Bajir, and as they reveal themselves, Hork-Bajir surround the ring of the quarry and hold them at gunpoint. Visser 3 is there because it turns out Axe has used an old frequency that they don't use on their communicators anymore, and they caught him. So they all get loaded onto the blade ship at gunpoint, and he's going to show them off to Visser 1. Visser 3 is very proud. Visser 1's going to come in here and say, oh, you're doing such a bad job on Earth. The Animorphs the Andalite bandits are beating you up. And he's going to say, haha, look how good I am. I'm going to be the new Visser 1 now. So he's very proud of himself.
Yeah.
So the plan just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. And it's nice to see the Yeerks and Visser 3 being kind of competent here.
They are. I don't know that I fully understand how they were able to be this competent. So I need to clarify like sort of the sequence of events here.
Okay, yeah.
So they set up the beacon.
Yes.
It's a fake distress beacon.
Yes.
The Yeerks are whatever on the ship off planet, right?
In their mothership, yeah.
Visser 3 is just hanging out on a random bug fighter.
He comes down in the blade ship.
Oh, he comes down after.
Yeah, they load him on the blade ship.
They get the signal. They can tell it's fake. They figure that out.
Yeah.
But then how do they get Hork-Bajir set up in the, like, mountains or whatever? Like, did they... It seems like they knew they were going to do this before the beacon goes. Or do they just have so many, like, positions just hidden... They could just radio them in, and they just did that.
Yeah, I mean, it feels really... I mean, they could just be very coordinated. Like, if they can find it and immediately know it's fake, then Visser 3 can say, like, oh, it's coming from here. All right, well, I've got a blade ship full of Hork-Bajir. Let's land. Let's get people in position. Then we bring the ship down.
I guess they have cloaking technology.
Yeah, they can do that.
They could have just done that and be secretive.
But it does require a lot of coordination and readiness, because they have to...
And Z transponders.
Yeah, Z transponders. But they have to get the signal. They have to realize it's fake. They have to tell Visser 3, I think I might got a fake signal here. Visser 3's got to say, I think you do got a fake signal here. Let's get a plan. Like, let's set this up and get them.
And it seems like this happens in like 10 minutes.
Yeah, because they don't use a lot of their morphing time here.
Yeah,
relatively speaking. So
morphing time.
They're good.
Yeah. Okay. Sure. It's just impressive. There's a part where Axe says like he's like, I've been admiring your bird form or something.
Yeah. Axe gets a bird morph here so that they can fly out to the quarry.
And that just made me think maybe Axe wants to fuck that bird. That's what it sounded like to me.
I mean, Axe and Tobias get pretty close.
And I also had to question in this part, maybe this was established before and I don't remember. Does Axe not have any of his own morphs?
Yeah, so this is a point here. Like I said, a lot of Andalites don't have a ton of morphs. Now, there is something they are forced to morph in school. I don't remember what it's called. It's like a Jidarabo or something like this. So Axe has that, but later on we do discover that most Andalite Arists do at least get a Kaffit bird to morph, because just for fun. But Axe apparently he's either not done that, or they're just like, you can't do that. You can't go flying around as an Andalite bird. Like, you're going to get caught.
Yeah, I guess.
I think Kaffit birds do have like 12 wings or some stupid six wings, I think.
Yeah, like Pandora.
Right.
Also a question, I don't know if this has been said. What's the name of the Andalite homeworld?
I don't know if it ever comes up. I think we might only ever know it as the Andalite homeworld.
That is stupid.
The more I think about it, I think we only ever hear about the Andalite homeworld, the Yeerk homeworld, the Hork-Bajir homeworld. I don't know that we ever hear a name for any of these homeworlds.
Maybe this is like, we don't want to say it because we don't want to give away which homeworld we're talking about.
Yeah, you don't want to know what system it's in. Everybody knows what system these things are in,
though. That's weird. I want to know what it's called. Somebody's got to know.
Yeah. Andalites are so arrogant. They just call it our planet. It's like if we called it, this is the human world. This is our world. It's for humans.
I guess
no other species.
Humans are just obsessed with labels. Like, we just have to be able to talk about everything.
I think Andalites have Enos Emarf, though. You'd think they'd have a name for their whole planet.
They sure do. They've also got, what is it, a fleer?
Yeah, well, that's just a component. Yeah. You gotta have a name for your Gertmoths and fleers.
What's the tree called?
Derisholes.
Yeah, that sounds
Yeah, the
right.
Derishol trees. Yeah, that's the asparagus one. I don't know what the broccoli ones are called.
But anyway, so they do trap them, and I noticed that Visser
Mhm.
3, uh, is still a cat guy a little bit.
Yes, yeah, he loves that tiger that Jake is.
He's like, I respect that.
Yeah,
Good
he's
work on that
into the
tiger.
tiger. Yeah.
That's good.
And we do see some rivalry also with Visser 3 and Visser 1 already. He is like he's not just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna show up Visser 1. You know, he's happy about that. He does not like Visser 1. He's very excited to lord over his victory over Visser 1.
Yeah.
They are not pleased with each other.
No, and we will see that very shortly in more detail.
We will. Oh yeah, also you said earlier about Axe. Axe says that there's so many cool animals on Earth. Someday Andalites will travel to Earth
Yeah.
to try out random animals and
It'll be
circle
like
back
a
on the cafe.
vacation.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's pretty fun. They have
indeed.
less ocean than us too. It's a little detail about the Andalite
Yeah,
homeworld.
more grassland, less ocean.
Yeah.
And this is also the first time we see like the full battle menagerie, but just with axes and Andalite alongside them.
Right.
So Visser 3 is kind of like, isn't it kind of weird that one of you's an Andalite and one of you talks to me and the others are never and I guess like you could explain because Axe is obviously young. Visser 3 is gonna look at Axe and say, oh, that's a kid. He's an Andalite. He knows what Andalite kids look like. So it could just be like, oh, well, he just doesn't have a morph yet, and maybe he talks because he's not disciplined. But then, like, that's fine. But by the time we're on book 45, right, this is still happening. Axe should at some point get a Earth battle morph, but he never does.
It's cooler, you know. It's
It
just
is cooler. We got to, yeah. I mean, from the writing perspective, the kids want to see the Andalite fight.
Yeah,
But
yeah, it is pretty suspicious. But he's just like, I guess it's whatever.
yeah, he even thinks about it for a second. He's like, whatever, fuck it.
It's weird. Oh well, who cares?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit strange.
Yeah.
It's a bit strange. I feel like I had something else I wanted to say, but I forget.
Just leading into the next part as they're getting marched off here. Marco is pretty numb. You know, he's just thinking like, well, it's finally happening. He's not even like scared or anything. It's just like resigned to, I always knew we'd be dead. And I said we were going to do one more mission because, but you know what? It was one too many, and that's just the way it is. And
one last job.
All over. Yep. I was supposed to retire next week.
There's a great, well, I don't know. You keep saying it.
No, okay. What's great? Tell me what's great.
There's a great part where Axe asks, "Do humans fear death?"
Oh yeah, that comes up. Axe is, I feel like Axe is a little bit nervous. Like he's afraid, but he feels like he shouldn't be because that's, you know, Andalite warriors are so brave. So it's kind of like you guys are scared too, right? Like it's is it okay kind of thing.
Right. Yeah. Maybe a bit Vulcan-like. All right, that's enough Star Trek references.
I don't know them well enough. You got to make Star Wars references.
Sorry, yeah, it's a bit. Star Wars
they're too silly.
Yeah, they're just dumb.
Yeah,
yeah, but Marco says, "Yeah, we're not crazy about death. How about you?" And he says, well, "We're also not crazy about it."
Yeah, Axe and Marco's banter is quite good because Axe doesn't. I feel like Axe might actually be a little bit autistic coded on purpose. But Axe often has issues with human humor, which makes it very funny when Marco jokes at him and he doesn't quite get it, or he like tries to joke back and it's a little bit off. They're fun. It's fun.
They're fun.
Yeah, it's good. A lot of fun. Right now, as they're being marched off, they get stuck in a windowless steel cube, like a pitch black steel cube, and they're flown off up into space.
Crazy.
Yeah. They open like a window in the cube so that they can see the Yerk mothership hovering over the Earth menacingly. They also get to see all of the different Hork-Bajir like lining up as they get brought and docked on the mothership. So they see clearly different factions of Horks. Right, there's Horks in brown uniforms that seem to be just general troops. There's Horks in red uniforms. There's Horks in gold uniforms, and they seem to be clearly different factions.
A little bit like Star Trek.
Yeah, a little bit like Star. I'm actually imagining like the scene in Return of the Jedi when the Emperor comes in and you've got all the troops lined up. I'm imagining this, but like there's a morphing cube to be shown off, and Visser 1 is coming in, but like there's Visser 1's troops on one side and Visser 3's troops on the other, because it seems like we have the golds are aligned with Visser 1, the reds are aligned with Visser 3. And Visser 1 comes in to observe what Visser 3 has shown her, and it turns out that Visser 1 is, surprise, Marco's mom. Right?
That's right.
Right? What do you think about that?
Well, you're kind of like, I want to, yeah. There's a lot here.
Yeah, there is a lot here.
There's a lot here. Like, I almost don't want to go past the uniforms yet.
Oh, that's fine. We can talk about the uniforms.
Because, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
I mean, I am
fascinated. Mom, whatever.
I am fascinated by these uniforms. Though. Yeah. I like the idea of Hork-Bajir wearing clothes. What kind of clothes do Hork-Bajir wear?
Great question. Are we to believe that there are then 47 different color combinations for each Visser's faction?
Maybe. Or maybe only the top most powerful Vissers get. No, I feel like every Visser probably gets
like
their
sports
own.
Teams.
Yeah.
And so there's it's one Yerk's job is like the fashion designer who comes up. We need a color. Does anyone have yellow and blue yet?
Right.
Shit,
right.
Visser 22 has that one.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's fun.
Yerk bureaucracy.
You didn't really like the mothership is cool as hell.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
It looks like a big jellyfish with tendrils, but like legs are coming out the top or something.
And Axe gives detail on it. This is, you're saying we need an alien to tell us about it. He talks about like what the tendrils are. I don't know if you've got the quote up there.
No, I somehow lost the section where this happens, but it was good.
No,
here it is. Yeah, the tendrils are the weapons and sensors and energy collectors.
Yeah,
and it's also where the Kandrona is.
Mm-hmm.
In the tendrils, or are they above it or something?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the shipboard Kandrona. Yeah, in the tendrils. That seems to be what it says here.
Huh? I didn't. But I don't know. Whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, he says there's got to be one on the planet. There's got to be one in the ship. But it's good that we have Axe here, so we don't just see a jellyfish ship. We know what all the parts do.
Yeah, the legs are the engines.
Yes.
Yeah, that's cool. That's good. That's a good ship. All right, now I'm ready for Marco's mom.
It's spooky. Yeah.
Yeah. No, this though genuinely. This got me. I didn't know this was gonna happen.
Yeah, I'm glad because like to me this is like just a known part of Animorphs lore. This happens in book 5, but it is a shocking twist when you first find out.
They fully, Darth Vader'd it.
Yeah.
we're going. It's Star Wars. I'm gonna love it.
Yeah.
I think I must have known this as a kid. Mm-hmm. I'm sure I read books past 5. I'm sure I knew this, but it had left my brain.
Yeah.
So I was shocked. This was a good, and like I said, I didn't think it was going to come back so soon.
Right.
So I was like, this got me on the edge of my seat. I was hooked.
Yeah. I unfortunately didn't get that great experience as a kid because one of my earlier books, back when I was still filling out my early book collection, one of my earlier books was 15 because it had a shark on the front and I liked fish. And so I got to read a Marco book. And he's just talking about, my mom's Visser 1. Yeah. It sucks. Yeah, because I got to read them in order.
I got to imagine you got to bring that up every book to catch you up.
Yeah, or at least every Marco book.
At least, or at least when Visser 1 shows up.
Yeah, Visser 1. I mean, so we won't see a ton of Visser 1 because she is not in charge of Earth. She's not usually around. She just happened to come by and see how Visser 3 was doing here or something.
Right.
There's an inspection.
Right.
And we do find out Visser 1 is going to talk to him. We find out that Visser 1 started the invasion on Earth and then left it to Visser 3. She says here basically, I set it up perfectly. I set up the sharing. I set up everything. I gave you the planet on a platter and you fucked it up. You're a terrible leader and you suck. She's not impressed with any of this kind of stuff.
Yeah. It's you get to see all the infighting, which I feel like is a not too uncommon trope in, I don't know, maybe not specifically sci-fi, but you often have where the bad guys' biggest enemies are their own undercutting each other to be like Star Wars space, right? It's all comes back to Star Wars.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's very Sith-like.
Mm.
In fact, I feel like were Yoda in this series, he might say, "Always 47 there are. No more, no less."
That sounds like what Yoda would say.
Yeah, that's what I think. Also, being a Visser seems stressful.
Yeah.
Because they must be constantly. Is it like a ranking system? Like if you fuck up once, you're Visser 2 now. Visser 2's Visser 1. Yeah, that's also very confusing because then you got to be like, wait, who's Visser 1 this week? Like, is that happening?
The ranks do change. I don't know how much it takes to change them, and it might be like I think it probably is all a politics game.
Who's deciding?
The Council of 13 is deciding. Yeah.
So they're above all. None of the Vissers are on the council.
No. The Council of 13. They've got I mean, being a Visser is very stressful too because we find out in later books it's like a lot of Visser 3's bullshit executing people is just like standard practice to the point where the Council of 13 is just like, yeah, there's like 100 death penalty level offenses and every Visser commits all of them constantly all the time, but it's just sort of understood that that's fine because that's what you do unless the council decides they don't like you because you didn't play the politics good enough, in which case you're fucked. So yes, rising through Yeerk society in general is very stressful because being a Visser does not absolve you from your boss might just kill you at any moment thing.
Yeah.
It just makes it less likely.
Yeah. It seems like a terrible job.
Yeah, no, it's not good to be a Yeerk.
I don't want to be a Visser. Yeah, no. You want to be one of the brown shirts.
You don't, though, because then Visser 3 eats you when he's having a bad day. What was the last book? It's like some Hork-Bajir interrupted Visser 3 when he was having his axe visions and he threw him out the airlock or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's just not. It's just not. Maybe there are better bosses than Visser 3. But
I think that's true.
Yeah.
I think that's true. But back to, before we even found out it was Marco's mom, I thought the twist was just, well, Visser 1's a woman.
Because you would expect him to be a man?
Yeah.
Right.
Just thought maybe
Feminism.
Well, now we know Yeerks are a feminist society.
Yeah.
They're progressive.
Yeah.
Also, timely for International Women's Month.
Oh, yes, that's true.
It's Women's Month.
I mean, this does kind of come back to Yeerks and gender because Yeerks,
right.
I don't see a lot of evidence to suggest that Yeerks have anything approximating gender outside of their hosts. And yet there does seem to be some level of, I don't know. It doesn't seem wrong to me to call Visser 1 she, and I don't know how much of that, like the Yeerk itself.
Right.
I don't know how much of that is my own human bias, but I feel like some of that is written into the books as well. That there's some sense of like you pick that up by being in that person.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting stuff. You can write a book about that.
Yeah, you said that last time I brought it up.
You could write 54 books about that.
You could, yeah.
I say a lot of things,
yeah.
I also think Marco's mom clearly a MILF.
Oh yes, yeah, yeah. She is a thick Latina.
Yeah, well, Marco's hot,
right?
So know his mom's hot.
Yeah, everyone says he's cute.
I bet he got her eyelashes.
That's got to be true. Yes,
and I really like. There's a part where he's questioning like, how long was she a Yeerk for?
Yeah, yeah.
Was she? And I didn't. This part was weird when he says, "Was it a Yeerk I used to find making out with my dad like a teenager when they didn't think I saw them?"
I mean,
was Marco peeping on his mom and dad fucking?
I mean, you do got to think about it though, because that Yeerk in her head was fucking his dad. At some point, they almost certainly were doing it. Like his dad isn't sitting there being like, she was so distant at the end.
Well,
like,
you're saying that. I don't know if you're, because I don't know that. I don't know if you're revealing something to me.
No, I don't know. I'm just thinking like, I mean, I guess unless you think that there was zero period before she went out. Like maybe she got infested right before she went out.
Yeah, at least maybe not my only assumption, but it seems that one possibility to me is that the reason she disappeared is just because she got yeerked. But I guess why would they?
Yeah, I think
wouldn't you just keep her at home for a while first? Makes sense.
It's not unreasonable because
it's not unreasonable.
She had to be on Earth setting up, the infiltration, right?
Yeah.
And whoever she was setting it up with has to disappear somehow
And
when
you did
she
say
gets
that
reassigned.
she was on the Earth.
And
Yeah.
she says that in this book.
You're
like
right.
that's
right,
not
right.
a reveal.
Yeah, you're right. The pieces. It's not explicit, but the clues are there.
But it's not clear, because it wouldn't be crazy for her to change hosts. So it's definitely not clear at this point. When she got reassigned, how long had she been in this host? Had she been there a month? Had she been there for 5 years? That's definitely we do not know. Marco is right to question how much of his life was there any point in his life even that his mom wasn't a Yerk?
Shit.
Did he ever meet her? We don't know.
Shit.
Yeah, it's
nuts.
It's pretty intense. And Marco, when he sees her, only Marco and Jake know who she is, right? The others have never met his mom, and Marco asks Jake not to tell anybody. Right. I do kind of wonder what his motivation beyond just Kay Applegate wanted narrative tension. I could see maybe he just does. I think there are points where Marcus is I don't want people to pity me. Maybe he's kind of ashamed, or maybe they're afraid that he won't.
That makes sense. It is a little bit I don't know that needed to be a thing, but it's okay.
Yeah, it is. It is fun. It lets Visser 1 come back and everybody be like, we gotta kill Visser 1. And Marco being like, yeah, guys. Right. That's fun, right?
Yeah. Or they're sitting around and Jake is like, dude, how hot is Visser 1?
Yeah. Well, Jake knows who she is. Jake knows what he's doing.
Oh, right.
Well, they're friends. They mess with each other, right? Jake doesn't just...
Tobias will say that, but he doesn't. No, he's too pure. He's too loyal to Rachel.
She doesn't have enough feathers for his taste.
All right, now, you need to summarize the end of this book before we get a 2.5-hour podcast.
No. 2.5 hours is perfect.
I agree.
So they're sitting there. Marco's reinvigorated to fight now that he's seen, Visser 1 here. He's all of a sudden he's the one standing up and giving speeches about how we can't give up, we got to find a way out. Everybody's a little bit surprised at this, but as they're trying to figure out how to get out, a door in the cube they're in opens. They've been moved to another section after the viewing, and Visser 1's troops are there. And Visser 1's Hork-Bajir says to them basically, all right, here's how you escape. You go this way, go that way, get out. There's the escape pods. There's the drop shaft. If you see any of Visser 3's guys, you're going to have to kill them. But we won't interfere. You got to go right now. Bye. And they're like, okay, sure. Because it turns out the Yerks are playing politics games. Visser 1 does not like Visser 3. She thinks he's an incompetent idiot, and she wants to see him fail. She wants to see him humiliated because his Andalites broke out, and she's more than happy to get all of his troops killed doing it. So they do. They follow the instructions. They fight their way out. They get to that drop shaft. Which is a cool little scene we can talk about. They get to the escape pods and they escape. And that is our climax scene, after which we will have a smash ending. But that's basically the end of the book.
Yeah. Now this Hork-Bajir sounds like he's been educated at Harvard.
Yes, you have to wonder. Does Visser 1 just train her troops better than Visser 3, or does she just get the better troops? Because I think they do also say her guys all look bigger.
Yeah. But I like that in contrast to the other ones who are always like, go ship Glorblaps.
Yeah, there was a good Grafarsh or whatever in this book somewhere. I don't
remember. Yeah, there's one of those.
Yeah, I wonder, did you think he has a British accent?
Yeah, no, that's what I want to think. Where's his line? This hallway goes on in that direction for 100 feet. That's what I think he sounds like.
Yeah, Visser 3s are more like, oi, governor, this here hallway goes on for 300 feet.
Sliplap, you got a graffier down the Glackland.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, this is a dumb question that I wrote down.
Yeah.
That I feel like has been explained, but I don't remember. Are Andalites are the only things that can thought speak? Is that true? Or can Yerks do it too?
Yerks can't do it.
Yerks can't do it.
Yerks can't do it, but they're often written in brackets when they talk to each other. But they have to touch each other and get their palps together. There are other creatures that have thought speech, but not a lot.
Okay. Yeah, I was wondering how common that is, or if it's just
it's pretty rare, and it's often different. Like we'll meet Lyrans later who have like psychic speak, but it's like more so. There's different things going on.
Okay, but as you said, I love this drop shaft.
Yeah,
where you just there's no floor.
Yeah.
Just
you jump into a hole
and you just think which floor you want.
You can say it too, he says. So if you don't have thought speech, you can say, 15th floor, jump in.
Oh, so you need to have thought speech for it doesn't just pick up on your energy or something.
I don't know if you can think, but he says you can say it out loud or think it. And since they have thought speech, they're thinking it.
Yeah, but that's cool. And I liked also the way the ship doors and windows, they said, just like open in the wall where there was nothing there before.
Yeah.
Kind of gets Skinamarinked in.
Yeah. And Rachel is an elephant. A couple points here where she doesn't fit through a door and it has to...
You want to bring up the elephant in the room?
I do.
How often does that joke happen in these books?
I don't remember one. It must be in here.
It's gotta be.
Kay Applegate just doesn't understand Marco well enough, I guess.
Yeah, she's not as in touch with him as we are.
Yeah.
That's great. The drop shaft is great.
Yeah, quite memorable. I like some of the fighting is a little like our standard graphic. Axe cuts off a Hork-Bajire's arm. Jake rips out a throat. Marco like Looney Tunes a guy into the ceiling. He like uppercuts him and he bonks his head on the ceiling, gets knocked out.
Yeah, he jumps over the crushed remnants of a taxon.
Yeah, they love crushing those taxons.
I don't blame them. They make satisfying squishings.
It's sad, poor taxons.
Yeah, fuck them.
Yeah.
They're gross, so they don't deserve to live.
Oh yeah, I also have written down here from slightly earlier, the Visser 1 says outright to Visser 3, "You are criminally incompetent." They're pretty harsh with their words.
I can't complain too much. The like I said, the thing of, and I wish I could think of another actual example of it, because I know there are some, of you only escaped because the other bad guy wanted to undercut the bad guy that wants to hurt you.
Mm-hmm.
It has been, I know it's been done, but I like it.
Yeah.
And it makes sense.
Yeah.
It is a little convenient, but you had to get them out somehow.
And it is fun because it's pretty consistent that every time Visser 1 shows up, you will often see some kind of like
die.
There's some kind of like playing of the sides against each other to some extent. That's pretty normal in here.
I mean, I guess you don't even need to look at fiction. That's just how our society works.
Yeah, that's what spies are for.
Yeah,
and fuck it up.
It's a bit like Operation Fortune, Ruse de Guerre.
Ruse de Guerre.
A reference that will hold up on this podcast for years. Everyone will remember the name Operation Fortune.
Everyone knows it right now. I knew it when I bought my ticket. I did not have to look it up on my phone at all to remember what movie I was trying to see.
Anyway.
Yeah.
And then we get to we want to end on a little bit of misery.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because it's a little bittersweet, I would say. But after they all escape, Marco and his dad, it's the 2-year anniversary. They're visiting his mom's grave. But we get this moment where his dad it almost seems like he's starting to pull himself together. He says, you know what, Marco, I haven't been a very good father. And your mom wouldn't have liked what I've been doing. And I think I'm going to try to go get my old job back. And it's a little bittersweet because we sort of see his dad moving on. Like in some sense, there's this idea he's grieved for his dead mom. And now he's ready to move on and move past that. Like it's still going to be a part of him, but it's time to push past his mom being like this defining central thing. And at the same time, Marco's sort of reversing. Like he had been holding the family together and now he knows his mom is still alive. Right. So now instead of being ready to move on, he's ready to focus on like, I need to be an animorph and potentially get myself killed in order to save her. Because we did see that transformation in that last thing. We saw Marco go from saying like, this is my last time to saying, no, we can't give up. We got to fight.
Yeah. It's a great arc.
Yeah, little dramatic irony with the dad there.
Dramatic irony, you say?
Yeah, because he doesn't know.
Yeah,
and we do.
That's true.
That's the definition of that.
Okay, I needed a little English lit class.
Yeah, right. For all, it's like how Kay Applegate's got to say, like, so 82 light years, light travels. This. Right.
What do you think about the juxtaposition of those two characters?
We want to define for our 12-year-old listeners what juxtaposition means?
Yeah. It means when two things are different.
Right.
Or the same.
That's correct. It means compare.
Oh, that was fucking high school English. That was such an important term. The juxtaposition. It makes you sound so smart.
Yeah.
So it's when you just look at two things together. It's fucking all literature is a scam.
They're not just posed. We've juxtaposed them.
That's right. But anyway, yeah. So we've covered the book.
Yeah, we've covered the book.
It's got everything. This book. I think this book makes, on that note, Marco. I mean, he was already my favorite, but I feel like he's now, with maybe the possible exception of Tobias, in my opinion, the most interesting character, because he now has a direct personal attachment to the heart of this invasion. I mean, so does Axe. That's, I guess, him too, because of, his brother.
Yeah, we haven't seen enough of Axe yet, I think, for him to be as interesting. I think he is going to grow in interest, and I think I do think that Cassie and Rachel have some really cool things going on, but we're not going to see as much of Rachel for a bit. And then Cassie builds. I think by the end of the series, Cassie is absolutely fascinating, but she takes she's a slow burn.
Okay.
To get there.
Yeah.
And Jake is...
He's the leader.
Jake's got some interesting things to dive into by the end, but... it's very like, listen, this is there's this one thing we really want to talk about with Jake in the context of the whole series, and that's basically it. And for most of the series,
he's got his brother.
He's got his brother. That's true.
So that is another.
Yeah, and that's going to tie into his one interesting thing. But
so I guess that's what I feel like Cassie and Rachel are missing at this point. Like Tobias doesn't quite. I mean, for him, because he has the hawk thing. He has some kind of. But I feel like Cassie and Rachel don't have yet a personal thing that's at stake.
Their personal things are more personal. Like, their things that are at stake are like themselves in a large way, I think, when we get more and more into it. And maybe they're just more selfish than Jake and Marco. But they what I'm saying is that you have to get to know this character. They don't have an easy, like, that's your mom, that's the hook, that's your brother, that's the hook.
Right.
You're a hawk, that's the hook type thing. The more you get to know them and see, because it's not even just get to know them, you also have to see how they cope and change over time for you to realize, like, the stakes, with regard to who they are.
Yeah. Fair enough.
We'll discover our characters more and more. That's the great thing about this, is that even when we're done setting up the series, like, the arcs continue, right? It's the serialization thing you're talking about. It does matter that it's in order.
But this book had fucking everything.
It did.
Lobsters to ants to the mall scene, which was, great. And then they go to space.
Yeah, they're in. This is their first time in space.
And then you find out it's his mom. Like,
yeah, it's crazy.
This is a wild book.
Mm-hmm.
It's insane.
It's good. Yeah. Yeah, I wasn't thinking about that rereading it. This is the first time they're in space. They have a whole scene where they're like looking out at Earth and they're awestruck.
Yeah.
It's
big. It's intense. It's a good one. It's a really good one.
Yeah.
Pop culture?
Pop culture. Let's do it. Let's do it.
Real lightning round.
Right.
Of pop culture. He goes, like we said, 7-Eleven.
Yep.
At the 7-Eleven, he also gets peanut M&Ms. Mm-hmm. Good choice,
I'm glad you specified it was peanut.
Of course. Yeah, of course. At some point, he says he's not exactly Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Right.
When he sees the muggers.
Right, but the gorilla is.
Like you said, who needs Spider-Man? We have multiple Spider-Mans with no hyphens. Letterman, we mentioned.
I want to say these are in order, so even though I said Letterman was on page 7, we've already had all these other ones.
That's right. He then says, I am Spider-Man, I am Wolverine, I am Batman.
Mm-hmm.
Who's crossing canons a little bit. Then he also says he's playing Captain America.
Yep.
He's really going through the list.
He loves
lineup. And again, we talk about Fantastic Four. I think Captain America even more obscure than... Like, people know that name in the 90s, but they don't know anything else about him, I don't think, other than that he's a guy from America.
Yeah.
Unless you're a
Yeah.
comic nerd. Unless you're a comic
Yeah, I
nerd.
think that's
Then you
true.
know.
Yeah, I feel like people heard of him, but yeah, I think you're right. It's like, oh, that's that America
He
guy.
was
He's a
like a
flag.
C-list character. Like, until the movie, nobody
Mhm.
gave a shit about Captain America. He wasn't, you know what I mean? Yeah, anyway. Just interesting. All the mall, of course. So, we mentioned Radio Shack. He also mentioned Sears and
Mhm.
Circuit City,
Mhm.
which they're both gone, right? Is Sears still around? I think they shut down.
I think they did, yeah.
Maybe there's still like an online component or something, but I think
yeah.
all
I
three of those stores
don't
don't
know any
exist
physical
anymore.
Sears, yeah.
They're
Yeah.
gone. As well as good-looking girls at the mall carrying bags from the Limited.
Yep, the Limited.
Now, I remember Limited 2.
Mm.
That was, my sister was real into Limited 2 at the mall, which I
Okay.
think was the more like the tween
That could
version
be.
of the
That could be.
Limited.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the clothing stores and all that stuff very well.
This
but
one
I
was
remember
good.
Limited.
They mentioned Starbucks.
Yeah.
The coffee place.
Right, Marco specifies. Well, because the kids don't know. What do you do at Starbucks?
In the 2011, they got rid of that clarification. At this time, you might not know what Starbucks was.
Interesting. When did Starbucks take over everything?
I honestly thought it was later. I thought there wasn't maybe Starbucks until like 99, 2000, but I guess they were starting.
Yeah, I mean, they certainly. There was a point where they were expanding. I remember, like, as a kid, an Onion article, because I read the Onion quite early, because my dad, I don't know. But the point being that I remember, like, a Starbucks begins sinister phase 2 of their operation article, and I think that actually coincides with them starting to go everywhere.
Well, there you go. The timeline matches.
Yeah.
Cinnabon, of course.
Yep.
Max loves Cinnabon.
Yep.
Whether it's spelled correctly or not.
We were supposed to get Cinnabons since I was here in person, but we didn't because it was too hard.
Well, I had the coffee. So
Okay.
that was sort of the thing.
Yeah.
That wasn't from Starbucks, but a 6-pack of Pepsi is referenced, as mentioned.
I missed that one.
Yeah, they have an argument over whether Spider-Man, no hyphen, could kick Batman's butt.
Ooh, I think we might have skipped. Did you see The Body Shop was also in the mall?
Oh, I missed The Body Shop.
Yeah, and he also references the NBA before I get to Spider-Man and Batman again.
Yeah, I think some of those, like NBA, I was like, I don't feel like writing that.
Or the Boy and Girl Scouts for the sharing.
I gave up on Boy and Girl Scouts too.
I'm going to include them in mine.
Yeah, that's good. That's why we're doing this together.
Yeah, because I missed Pepsi.
Yeah,
right.
This is important.
Yeah, no.
I swear I watched a movie or something recently that had The Body Shop in it. And I was like, oh, it's The Body Shop. I don't know that now. I like recognize the font when I saw it. Anyway, Marco mentions being like the X-Men or whatever, like wanting costumes.
Spandex. Yeah, with the costumes.
He mimics the Disney World commercial.
Yes.
Where these guys, where are you going to go next? Or what are you going to do next? I'm going to go to Disney World.
He mentions the Super Bowl because it was part of that commercial.
Right. Of course, if Klingons were real, they would be terrified of what was Yerks? I don't remember. Hork-Bajir, that's what it is.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is why you keep coming back to all the Star Trek references, because Marco is a bit of a Trek head. I think Jake is too.
I like that that's the, like, his mic drop. You don't want to know how scary Hork-Bajir are? Klingons would be scared of them.
Yeah.
And we all know how tough Klingons are. He compares something to an out-of-control Cuisinarts.
Is that a Hork-Bajir slashing everywhere, or is it something else?
It must be. And I'm like, what? Do I even know what a Cuisinart is? It's like a
some kind of food processor, yeah.
I don't know what that means.
It's because you're a bachelor.
Yeah, he mentions his mom dragging him through J.C. Penney's, which, by the way, is not called J.C. Penney's. They fixed this in the other edition. It's just J.C. Penney.
Yeah.
They spelled it wrong.
Yeah. She's not doing her research on
No, they didn't have the internet as well then. You couldn't just Google everything.
They did have the internet.
But it wasn't as, you wouldn't think to do it.
Google wasn't around for, like, when did Google become a good search engine? I want to say it was more like 99. It certainly wasn't 96.
No, it was late 90s at the earliest.
Yeah.
Early. Salad Shooters, of course, comes up.
And Harvard.
Okay, sure.
Harvard. I wrote it.
Yeah, okay.
It's got a capital letter in the front of it.
And the last one I have is him telling his dad that he kicked his butt at Doom.
Oh, yeah. I did not write Doom, even though I remember him saying that.
Yeah. So,
Doom.
Big. These kids are going to shoot up a school because they love Doom so much.
Yeah, it's a good thing they've got these Hork-Bajir and Texans to kill instead.
Get out their aggression.
The violent video games.
Well, how do you feel about the fact that this is officially our longest podcast yet?
I feel really good. I think we can keep going. Everyone's going to get longer.
It always feels like now we got all this out of the way, and then so many things get introduced.
We do not have it all out of the way. The next couple books, we're going to introduce some stuff.
Yeah, well, that's a good one. Hopefully people are along for the ride. Mm-hmm. And if you're not, either way, let us know at theyerkyboys@gmail.com. Or now you could tweet us at theyerkyboys on Twitter, where we're going to be sharing memes.
We totally will.
You want to get in on that?
Yeah, we will be doing it.
Yeah, we won't drop the ball and forget after a week 2.
Right, or after day 1.
Yeah, so follow us.
Yeah.
And you can also find more of my stuff at jonathanesses.com or follow me on Twitter at Quence. I have other podcasts and shows you can find.
Yeah, and you can follow me on Twitter at DogTimesMcGee, where I post marginally more often than our Twitter account right now, but maybe that won't be true in the future.
Maybe it won't. Well,
yeah. Thanks everyone for listening. Tune in next time when we'll be discussing Book 6, The Capture, in which Jake turns into a fly on the Yerky Boys.